Hello, and welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, your host. This is Nice and Blunt. We are live Tuesday, July 21st, 8:30 p.m., and it should be a good one. We had an awesome discussion with Who Hames earlier today, pinned down some receiver rankings, especially getting down to the nitty-gritty. Those third, fourth, and fifth round receivers might be the pieces that decide your fate this year. So, with that updated information, going to draft more with more wisdom. And without further ado, let us begin. All right, let's bring in the chat and let's hop into a fast puppy. We will join a fast puppy right after we bring in the chat. Pepper Tony is Fimps today. Not just Fimps, but also first welcome in, brother. And a nice little family soup from Who Hames. What is it today? I hope you had lobster bisque this time around, Who Hames. You deserve it. The FF Nerd, our boy Ruben, in the house with some fire emojis. Good to see you, man. And it seems like it's official. It seems like it's ready to announce. We will be participating in a produced league. We're going to have videos on a weekly basis for a redraft league with a bunch of content creators here on YouTube. Going to be lit. The precise cast I don't have right in front of me, but I know our boy Who Hames is in it. I know Candyman is in it. I know Hartman is in it. I believe the Toxic Tower is also in it, and it's going to be lit. We'll give you the link to that YouTube channel once we launch it. It's set up, but I just want to make sure the FF Nerd gives me full approval. That is his channel. But yeah, going to be fun. Going to be fucking sweet this year. A-Rod's in the house. Yo, what's up, man? Blaze it. What's up, Shamrock? Like I just said, the Iron Throne, the league we're going to be in, is on at the top of my mind, plus our conversation with Who Hames earlier. But Chad, what's up? The translate is saying yes, even though you typed yo. The translate's on one, as always. But yo, what's up, Ryan Bladen? Appreciate you. And then the Jedi Loco coming in here, joining the blunt rotation. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you hop into this draft with us, and we'll review your team. Every member of the blunt rotation gets a team review in our stream drafts. But what's good, the Big Sweat? Good to see you. Jamie's already high as fuck, but Danimal in here. What's up, big hitter? Yeah, bon voyage. Let's get it going. We're going to hop into the fast puppy in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Instafill. I tried. I fucking tried. I'm not too upset about it, but I tried. Of course, the Burgess is in here right next to me. Oh boy, do I go with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins again, and just get sniped like last night, or we'll see what happens. But yeah, of course, Ruben, very excited for our draft in late August and the league this season. But we got London 007 at the 1, Game Tight, our boys at the 102. I pulled the 103. Burgess is next to me at pick 4. Polara Bear at the 5. Jack Burton 3000 at pick 6. Andre's cousin. Beck 27. I believe you're also watching. Iron Griffin 007. So multiple James Bond impersonators are in this lobby. Unidog at pick 9. J Shaw 36. D Jones. And then Fawn and Winter at pick 12. Good luck, everyone. We only have 2 scary badges and then a few badgeless, but sometimes the badgeless know what they're doing. Jamar Chase, though, come on down. Let's see if Burgess prevents me from having Joe Burrow again. I may not set up the double Bengals, knowing that that's probably what'll happen. Burgess is high on Burrow. He's a good option, but to get double sniped yesterday was kind of sad. He goes Amon-Ra over Puka. Interesting. Personally, I take Amon-Ra right at 5, not 4, but I suppose it's not completely insane, but Getting different, always fine. Beck 27 goes James Cook. So get your guys season. Love to see it. Round 1 already a little bit different. But in general, kind of hard to fuck up in the beginning. Most picks in the beginning are destined to hit regardless of, like, only getting hurt is usually what crushes those first round picks. On occasion, we put someone there that really doesn't deserve to be there. Like Breece Hall that year when he was like running back 3. Remember when it was Breece Hall versus Bijan Robinson at like pick 6? And a lot of people, including myself, were pretty convinced that Breece would probably pay off first round capital. That was an interesting year. But Chase Brown at pick 12. Love to see it. Chase Brown, Hampton. There we go. So Genty's still on the board, and let's see how far he falls. But let's also bring in the music. I think that's probably a wise choice. We'll update on that ear situation I mentioned to you guys yesterday. It's gotten a little bit better, but not fully resolved. It gives me headaches on occasion, but I'm gonna get it checked out tomorrow. Gonna go to the doctor. I think I gotta wash out my ears. But the FF Nerd, I'm binge watching Netflix's Quarterback now. Has every episode been posted, or is it still just like episode like 3 or 4? I haven't watched it yet, but I kind of want to get in when it's close to like finish, and that way I can kind of just watch them all in a short period of time. But yeah, Jamar and T, we got to run it back. We got to set it up again, right? Why not? Do it right. But I've been trying to take Nico a little bit more. I took Rashee Rice in the second round with Huhames earlier today, and I do rank Rashee above Nico, but I've been a little bit thin on the Nico shares, and part of that is because I rarely get pick 3. The 2 picks I've gotten the least this season in all my exposures in terms of like which pick selection do I have, it's spot 3 and spot 12. So I'm, by the nature of just the luck of the draw, a little bit underweight on Jamar Chase and someone like Nico, who are right in line with ADP, but for the sake of exposures, I don't have a ton of them with both of them. I'm happy to take it, but no worries, man. If you want it, go for it. It is what it is. There's really, to take a snipe personally, in the moment, it's fun, and like the entertainment value, I'm sure you were cracking up in the moment, but like it is what it is. It's just kind of, when it happens, it's unfortunate, but typically speaking, most people take the right picks. And Burrow is a guy that can easily help you advance, but if Rashi's going to fall back at 27, it might be kind of chalk, but I like Rashee over Nico. So it's basically as if I stuck to my ranks and Nico just fell back at 27. So it's not that much different, but I'm starting to think the RB dead zone might actually be the third round. I'm starting to think that there's not that much difference between someone that goes here and someone like Scatterbo, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift even, perhaps. Like, if you told me David Montgomery outscores Jeremiah Love this year, is that really that shocking? Is it that impossible? We're going to find out, but receiver in the third feels much stronger, at least at the top of the third, than some of the running backs, and obviously McBride is kind of gross as well. But Chad's in the overflow. Young Moolah's in the house. What's up? What's up, Young Moolah? Check out GAB for Life if anyone hasn't done so yet. But our boy Anthony Perez also in here. Hi, bro. In the overflow. Yeah, there were not that many spots eligible, if I had to guess, in this one. The countdown may not have been slow enough. But what's good, GB? Nice to see you. Thanks for checking in. We got the Jedi Loco. Didn't make it in, but all gravy, baby. That's the mentality to have. Things happen It's what you do that matters. There will always be another chance. But MacNova is in here. The Adventures of Bluntman and Chronic. Yo. That's a pretty good name for a television show. I'll say that. But Anthony got the second pick in the overflow. That's not a bad consolation prize. But Ryan, is the trick to join at like 6 in the countdown or what? Yes, I would recommend once I start counting from 10. If you click it at 9, you're probably more likely to get in as opposed to you clicking it at like 3, 2, 1. Like, if anything, if you click it at 9, your odds of getting in the pre-flow are probably less than getting in the overflow, if I had to guess. So, the sweet spot is, I think, 7. The delay is typically like 6-ish seconds. And, you know, my tempo might vary from draft to draft, but I try to make it as legit of a 10-second countdown as possible. On occasion, I'll speed it up, but in general, it's at worst like 9 or 8 seconds, even if I do speed it up in the tempo. But yeah, if you click the button after I've said the number 4, you might be too late, legitimately. But back on the clock, I don't really want receivers, so I think I just kind of eat my vegetables and draft the running backs. I prefer Swift over Montgomery. For the sake of exposure, maybe I should take him, but I already have the bet on Nico Collins. I don't love the Texans offense in general, so if you told me one of them is the piece you need in week 17 against the Packers, I could believe it. I don't think it's that far-fetched, but both of them, I'm not that convinced. If Montgomery makes it back, I think I'll take him, but in my true rankings, I do have Swift above Montgomery. Swift, I believe, a little bit younger, just like 1 year. They might be the same age, but I think Swift is 1 year younger. And Montgomery has been missing a little bit more games the last couple seasons. Swift started off his career with more injuries. Lately, though, he has been staying healthy, and Montgomery does make it back. So, a nice little gift, I suppose. In essence, I just took them in the opposite order. It's not that crazy. It's basically like if nothing really changed from the ADP, basically. So, not a big deal, but at least for the sake of my running back room, it does help secure the floor quite a bit. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a major bust. Yeah, that was fucking crazy. Man, the Chiefs hype really carried a lot of weight back then. But what's up, Jiri? Our boy Jiri's in the house, and we will be live hosting Jiri as a guest on Thursday, I believe 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I believe that is the correct time. Looking forward to that, having Jiri back on the channel. Last time he was here was when we hit the 10K 10-hour live stream, and always drafting good rosters with Jiri. On Monday night next week, we're also going to be live with Hartman on his channel. Looking forward to that. Very excited. And thanks for popping in, fellas. They both were live on Jiri's channel earlier. Some sharp takes from these two gentlemen. Steven in the house. How many games do you think Cousins will start this year? I think it's dependent on how bad he is. I think he would really have to suck for them to put in Mendoza early, because I think they might actually be okay on offense. They might actually stay like close to 500 with Cousins, and their schedule's pretty brutal where, like, unless they just trust Mendoza, if they start him by like week 5 or sooner, he gets put through a gauntlet in the month of October. Their schedule gets really interesting. A lot of locked in L's probably in the month of October and late September. So if they are actually competitive in September, I think Cousins might earn a bit of runway, because I believe the schedule in week 8, they get the New York Jets. If I had to guess, Cousins gets 6 full games, and they're like 3-3 at best, probably like 2-4. And once he like shits the bed in the first half against Josh Allen, we'll see Mendoza in like garbage time in the third quarter. Week 7 is, I think, the first game action for Mendoza. I'm pretty sure that's the Bills game. And then week 8, I believe they are at the Jets. That feels like the perfect spot for him to get set up. So if I had to guess, I would go 6 games on Kirk Cousins. Batweet's in the house. Hello! T. Higgins, I might go Burrow now. If I had to guess, Burgess, you're sticking to your guns. That's why I did not take T. Higgins. There it is. But, okay, back on the clock. Pollard is still here. I trust Pollard a lot more than the remaining running backs, and that was a position I faded. So, triple receiver, triple running back, getting the safe floor with Pollard. With some upside, if he can actually just score some touchdowns this year, he has legit upside. He did drop like 20 points in, I believe, week 15? Either week 15 or 16. The man had like 23 carries, over 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Pollard went off finally in the fantasy playoffs last year. He was actually one of those randoms that was hard to advance, but talented enough to hit when it mattered most. And week 17, it wasn't the case, but he did showcase some ability, and it was really just touchdowns that held him back last year. He has never really scored double-digit touchdowns in his career, though, so that might just not be his skill set, his calling card. There was a reason Ezekiel Elliott was punching in all those touchdowns back in the day. Maybe Pollard just sucks in the red zone in goal-to-go situations, but Hurts makes it back. I think that's the move. Unstack Jalen Hurts definitely checks out. There is a backstack available. The team with Mekhi Lemon passed, and to let Polara Bear get him with Devontae at 77, not my preferred course of action. So I'll go Jalen Hurts, just a perennial good pick, and so much rushing value, rushing touchdown production. You don't need to stack him, especially at a falling value. Round 7 feels very, very easy to take Jalen Hurts. But aloha, Air Jeff. How we doing? The live chat may have frozen again, so let me refresh that. Yeah, there we go. The Fantasy Fitness IO is in the house. What's up, big dog? Not much, man. Just drafting this team here. We got Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, and then DeAndre Swift, Dave Montgomery, Tony Pollard, and Jalen Hurts. The team is coming together. But otherwise, we are mostly just chilling. If anything, I'm going to pack a bowl right now. If anything, that's probably the move. Around this long turn, I feel like when you take Jalen Hurts, there's not that much more to discuss. Like, I feel like everyone is kind of already, unless you're living under a rock or this is like the first year you're paying attention to stats, then everyone knows why Jalen Hurts is a fine selection. But losing A.J. Brown, not going to help him. I can't imagine that's like the best case scenario, but it was such a cancer in the locker room. It was such a weird vibe. It was such an annoying factor to have to like force feed him targets just to like appease his ego. Maybe the no nonsense quarterback is just going to be able to focus on winning again. And my only concern is if he starts to run less, but if anything, by moving off of A.J. Brown, it indicates they will run more. And Hurts... Excuse me. Hurts probably still drops like 13 rushing touchdowns, but that'd be my guess. That would be my guess. But let's see how the audience feels. Which quarterback could go first? An interesting question. And I'll drop it after this pick. But I think that quarterback market in the 6th, 7th round is a very interesting discussion. So I'll get y'all's opinion on it. But Mahomes, a pretty easy pick here if Dowdle goes off the board. So I could take Corum, but my running back room isn't bad. Xavier Worthy's off the board. So if I push Mahomes, I might get him. I may not get one of these receivers though. And I do really trust Michael Pittman. So I'll just take Pittman first. I think that's going to be fine. I think that checks out. And getting back in at receiver before a bit of a cliff, like I don't really trust the receivers going after Pittman the same way. Like, I like Wandale, I like Dobbs, but they'll probably be available at the 10-11 turn. At least one of them might still be there in the 10th. So they're not guys to reach on, but the quarterback position can definitely make it back. London takes Mahomes. There's always the Kelsey backstack, so that's definitely possible. But I already have Hurts. If I took Mahomes, I'd be locked in to take like Kelsey, and then a guy I really like probably wouldn't fit on the team. So we have Jalen Hurts already. I do like Jackson Dart, but I think I'm just going to go with Jonathan Brooks. I think just grabbing another running back, true upside. Let's do that. I think Dobbins doesn't quite fit the team I'm building. I think I have like really good floor plays with Swift, Montgomery, and Pollard. And although Dobbins is valuable, it's only until he gets hurt. And until then, he doesn't catch any passes. So best case scenario, he's giving you like maximum 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. You need a multi-touchdown game for Dobbins to really deliver with like 20 plus. So I think that's fine. But all right, back to the poll question. Which quarterback should go first? Burrow, Caleb, Hurts, or just because it's a nice and blunt stream, we're going to throw in Herbert there. I'm going to remove Jaden Daniels, Drake May, who go in the 6th round. I think those are absolutely deserving to go there. But I think the next 4 are very interesting, and some people hate Herbert, let him fall a lot. So maybe you guys think Dak should be in this conversation. But this is the question. I'm dropping the poll right now. Which quarterback should go first? Caleb, Burrow, Hurts, or Justin Herbert? But Danimal says Pollard is nice. He's worth the 6th round investment. He is absolutely worth it. Will he overperform 6th round? Not totally sure. The touchdowns are a major dilemma to bet on in Tennessee. They don't have the O-line to trust. There's a lot of factors with the quarterback play. Is it absolutely legit, or was it just a terrible draft class and somebody had to go first? How legit is Cam Ward, and how legit can this offense be with Brian Dable? It's an interesting question, but Pollard, from a volume standpoint, I don't think he's not going anywhere. He's 29 years old, so maybe he gets hurt, but I don't think it's like the wisest bet to just assume the 29-year-old is going to go down. Montgomery is also 29 years old, so a bit of age concerns in that regard, but it's fine. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. Not like insane capital to spend, where if they do go down for just a few weeks, you are completely dead. But Brooks, also kind of injury prone. The team has some risk for sure. But Air Jeff, team 1 passing on Hurts when he had Lemon and no quarterbacks is wild. He does get an unstacked Mahomes. He pulls up Tyler Shuck. He does have Chris Olave. So more of a fan of someone like Shuck and Mahomes than Jalen Hurts. But yeah, to take Lemon there with some conviction is kind of odd to me, to not just pair him. But interesting. I could go Kyler Murray just because of the falling value. I do like Kyler. I think he's a good pick. My running back room is fine to stop there. The value on Kyler is decent here. 8-pick slide. Not the best backstacks, but also a rushing quarterback, and I'm down to do it. The team behind me, Game Tight, has no quarterbacks, so I could easily see him take both Kyler and Baker, and we don't get either option. With only Hurts on the team, getting another rushing quarterback, I think, is the move. And last year, even though Kyler Murray was extremely mid, he was never really giving you more than 17 points, never less than 15 either. He was averaging like QB 17 in points per game. So drafting him as QB 18 would be less productive than what he put up in Arizona last year. And if you're like me, you feel pretty confident in projecting he gets way better in Minnesota this season. So I like Kyler there quite a bit. Even without a stack, I'm perfectly fine with it. He also gets the Jets in week 17. That should be pretty sweet. Definitely a good spot. I could go Dobbs. I like my receiving room a lot, though. I feel pretty confident in it. And while it has happened on occasion, I don't feel great trusting it to work out. So I'll just justify the Jalen Hurts pick even more. I'll go with Dallas Goedert, a player I think is ranked too low, and definitely the benefactor of an A.J. Brown departure that never really got the proper credit in the ADP once that happened. I think all of the hype went to Devontae Smith before the trade even happened, and then once the trade occurred, it was like, all right, nothing to really do anymore. We're not drafting Devontae in the second, so he's not going to rise. But the market never really adjusted on Goddard. If anything, Goddard has kind of fallen continuously into the late 130s. But at 142, I definitely wouldn't expect it. So I'm just going to take him here at 123. I think it's the correct pick. Likely already went off the board. I'd rather have Goddard for sure. So with Hurts, 11 receiving touchdowns last year, 10 of them in the red zone. I trust Goddard a lot. It's really just, will he stay healthy? That's kind of the only reason not to trust him, in my opinion. Some people like Eli Stowers. I do not believe in Stowers one bit. Year one, I have no concern on Eli Stowers. But the FF Nerd, by the way, man, votes look like draft will be August 25th or 26th, Tuesday or Wednesday. I believe so. Yeah, I think both of them should check out. If I had to guess, I'd probably do Wednesday, but I'll answer in the poll. I'll definitely get to it after I'm live this evening. But Ruben needs Baker to kill it this season. I think in a contract year, I think he will. His offensive line is going to be much healthier. Tristan Wirfs being 100% is massive. Losing Evans is always a big deal, but I think the receiver room can recover. I like McMillan a lot. Egbuka should deliver. And then as long as Godwin stays healthy, he's also a supreme talent to trust. So as long as they're all healthy, it should be a good bet, especially in a contract season. I would trust Baker to deliver. But Austin thinks Burrow or Herbert. Looks like the poll is mostly in line with Burrow. If anything, Jalen Hurts is actually losing the poll. That's notable. But only 15 votes so far, so if you think differently, let your voice be heard. Go ahead and vote in that poll. But Pollard as a third, definitely a solid floor. But Austin says both Herbert and Burrow could win MVP. That's definitely true. And Burrow really believes his team is as good as his championship LSU team. And hopefully Herbert still has his rushing upside, along with McDaniel. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. It might not be 500 yards rushing this year, but it's going to be part of his bag and definitely more mobile than Tua. Going to unlock some true upside. I do think Herbert could throw for like 4,500 yards this season and like 40 touchdowns possibly, but Burrow could easily do that as well. They both have MVP candidacy for sure this season, but this is kind of a tough spot. Not my favorite position in the draft. Honestly, I'm just Jalen McMillan here, but I know Game Tight has... Yeah, we would have gotten sniped with one of those two picks if we wouldn't take Jalen McMillan, and I do rank him above the rest of them. So, sorry, Game Tight, nothing personal. Hope you can forgive me, but I do believe McMillan is the best receiver on the board here right now. I trust in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, and I also fear a little bit that Godwin won't play all 17 games. Plus, if Who Hames is right on Egbuka, then McMillan is a very, very legit problem. When he hits the lineup, he can drop 15 points. So I think he's one of the better picks here. I don't like Omar Cooper very much. I don't like Jalen Naylor. The receivers are all kind of gross for the most part. I have Montgomery, so I'm not taking Woody Marks. I don't really want Stroud, but it actually might work. I have both Texans. I think I'm going to take him. This range feels very disgusting. If you're not taking tight end here, it's not really valuable in my opinion. So we could have maybe gone Trey Tucker. That's kind of the only pick in this range I like. Pulling up Juwan Jennings feels bad. Even with Kyler, I'm not really down for it. So Juwan was very touchdown dependent last year. I don't really trust it to happen in Minnesota this season as the number 3. So I just take the third quarterback. It may not have been necessary, but I had Nico. I had David Montgomery. We made a bet on Houston. So for a player that's just going to hit my lineup on occasion with like 25 points, you know, it helps you advance. When it does factor in, it raises the floor on my weekly roster. So the third quarterback is fine, but I don't have many shares of Stroud. It felt kind of like either I take another share of Hunter Henry, grab a tight end a little bit higher than I would prefer, or just mix in a random share of Stroud just because I never really do it. With Nico, it's probably the only time to do it. But Air Jeff says, hard pull question to answer without knowing what the team is. I'd stack with any of those quarterbacks, but standalone, probably Caleb. Yeah, the question is for standalone. If you were just in a vacuum, which quarterback is going to score you more fantasy points? There is no stack involved. There is literally no other player on your roster. Which quarterback would you take first? That is essentially the question. But the reason I think Burrow goes first is because of the stack dynamics, where the T. Higgins drafter is like, I really need to get ahead of the Jamar Chase drafter. And then the Jamar Chase drafter, even if they get him, is like, well, if I don't take him here, he's definitely not making it back. So I have to take him by the 7th round. And then he never really goes later than that. But I'm not totally convinced that Burrow, with his injury risk, is worth early 6th round. But the FF Nerd also probably leans towards Burrow. He's definitely leading the poll, but less than half of responders are saying Burrow. He is in first, but less than 50%. So Air Jeff likes Caleb. Says Herbert is next. But Fantasy Fitness IO, Goddard over Andrews. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think especially with Jalen Hurts, it's totally viable. I have them in a similar tier, but I think both of them are kind of touchdown dependent. However, if you told me one of them is dropping 100+ yards in a given week, that would definitely be Dallas Goedert. Goddard is a bit more injury prone. I believe he's a little younger than Andrews by like very, very, like maybe just a few months younger. But he has gone down at times. Bigsby is not only top of my rankings, but top of ADP. So there's literally never been a better time to take him. Come on down. I'm already invested in the Eagles. So Hurts, Bigsby, and Goddard. This is the way I've been playing Philly, through Bigsby and Dallas Goedert. I want to be in on some of the Eagles pieces. It's just a narrow offense. I don't feel that good about Lemon. And with A.J. Brown leaving, it's definitely going to elevate some other pieces. And for the cost, Tank Bigsby at 166. All day. I remember when we were taking Tank Bigsby consistently in what? The 190s? Like, he used to be round 16 so often. Back on the clock, though. Grabbing Trey Harris for that Rashee Rice bringback could be valuable. ADP says Debo. However, I don't really have... Oh, no, I'm going to go Schultz for sure. I have Stroud. I trust Dalton Schultz a lot more than TJ Hawkinson. The unstacked Kyler, I think, is totally fine. It is what it is. But W for Omega, I can't take Burrow at ADP, rarely at best. If you have the double stack, it feels way better. But if you have him unstacked, I've done it once, and it was at pick 72. It was at the 101 at the end of the 6th round. I did it once, and it was just like, that still feels kind of odd. And that was like 7 picks past ADP. So, yeah, to do it at ADP, the only time it's justified is a T. Higgins, and it still feels a little expensive. But a lot of those picks in the mid-6th feel gross as fuck. So to just take quarterback feels more valuable than Jadarian Price or Parker Washington, in my opinion. Marvin Harrison as well. versus Joe Burrow. I think I'd probably rather have Burrow, but would I rather have Herbert? Would I rather have Caleb? Would I rather have Drake May? Is an interesting question. But W for Omega says Hurts is undervalued in his opinion. What's interesting on Hurts is the fact that he has been losing value the last 3 seasons. Like consistently his rank in total points has been moving down. I believe 3 years ago he was like quarterback 2, and then 2 years ago he was like quarterback 4, quarterback 5, and then last year he was like quarterback 7. So losing AJ Brown can't help the passing game very much, but he still offers that rushing value that's just unquestioned and so much safer than anyone other than Josh Allen. Like, if anything, Hurts still might run the ball, especially on the goal line, more than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has been fading his rushing capability the last few seasons, especially on the goal line. You trust Jalen Hurts with the rushing touchdowns a lot more. So, if anything, taking him unstacked is still a very strong play. And we still get Goddard to pair up with him at 123. I have Goddard ranked in like the 10th round. So, even though we took him like 8 picks above ADP, I really don't give a shit. Not at all. But the tight end room could definitely use a Greg Dulcich, but why not go with Dontavian Wicks first? I think that makes some sense. If Lemon is not as good as I expect, then he's even worse. Then I'm not really believing in Lemon too much, but especially early season, I could see Dontavian Wicks pay off, and I also think when Wicks is needed, he's showcased he can drop like 20 points. He can be used heavily down the field and like score some deep touchdowns. So Wicks is just a good pick in general. Stacked up, it feels even better. And Gunnar Helm, Pat Freiermuth, how important are they? Dulcich still makes it back, so I'm chilling with that. The running back room, Swift, Monty, Pollard, Brooks, Tank Bigsby. I can stop with that, honestly. And then receiver, top heavy, but it kind of takes care of itself. So grabbing the third tight end, a nice little 18 pick slide on Greg Dulcich. Let's go. I thought he was a value in the last round, but to push him again and still take him, pretty sweet. But could I have just gone Dulcich and then Dontavian Wicks? Probably. Probably could have gotten away with that. But we locked it up a safe way. But Shit My Bread says Kelsey over Goddard. I mean, that's not a bold take. That's what the ADP says. But Kelsey did fall in this one. The Mahomes drafter didn't take him. That's interesting. The Mahomes drafter took Isaiah Likely over Kelsey. They also took Isaiah Pacheco over Kelsey. Wow. London 007. What the fuck? He took BTJ at 48. Christian Watson at 49. He took Mekhi Lemon unstacked. He took Cortland Sutton over Jalen Hurts. Holy shit. I'm just finally like focusing on this team at the 101. He went Olave and Travis Etienne at the 2-3 turn. Damn. He knows something we don't. He took Juwan Johnson at 144. Pulled him up a full round. And then Zach Charbonnet at 145. Stribling, Brian Robinson, Freiermuth, and Tua. Very interesting from the 101. But Steven, I take Tank in the 140 sometimes. That's where he should go. He should go straight up next to Keaton Mitchell, honestly. But you could possibly say that about Alvin Kamara as well. We had an interesting discussion with Who Hames earlier, and I may regret being very underweight on Alvin Kamara if all of a sudden, like 2 weeks from now, he's like 30 picks, 40 picks more expensive. It's possible. All those handcuffs and interesting offenses, you could all lobby for them instead of Keaton Mitchell. And if the rest of the board agrees with you, he will go there. But Kamara's probably a guy I need to start mixing in before it's too late. I will say, Who Hangs made me a little bit worried. I have not enough Kamara. but all right. This last click, Jaden Blue's still here. Receiver room with 6. Maybe not the best, though. There's not many receivers I want, but Keenan, obviously, just I know he will play at this point. I feel pretty safe predicting that, so fuck it. I'll just take Keenan. He should be a drafted player right now. I think getting him in round 18 and then not worrying about it once he's like 3-4 rounds more expensive is how I'd like to play it, rather than chasing him up the board once he signs. I believe wholeheartedly that Keenan will sign, so fuck it. We take him. Not really a good landing spot for him where it would stack, but it's just kind of for points. It's just kind of like he'll have enough targets to be worth this price, so it's just, you know, the weeks when Wicks doesn't do anything, Keenan might have a random touchdown and might save me in the flex spot, because the running back room is fine, but to convince me I'm getting a lot of games with more than 12 or 13 points out of those 3 in the flex is not like the safest bet. So there's a lot of need for Pittman to hit the lineup on occasion, and when he doesn't score a touchdown, I might get it out of Keenan Allen or Jalen McMillan or Wicks. So, all right, interesting team from the 103. Honestly, not bad. You have to take running back in the 5th. We also took one in the 4th. And passing in the 3rd, I do not regret. I could have taken Kyron, but having Rashee Rice over Luther Burden, essentially, I think is pretty sweet. Or let's say we went with like Kyron, Swift, and Montgomery, and then wound up taking like Harrison instead of Pollard. I think I like it more the way I played it, because Rashee can be top 5, so can Nico. Jamar Chase can obviously be the number 1 overall. So the receiver room is pretty strong, and having 7 feels pretty fine on that one. Okay, so full recap. We have a 3-5-7-3. Jalen Hurts at 75, stacked up with Bigsby, Goddard, and Dontavian Wicks. I got Kyler unstacked. I do not care at all. Stroud stacked up with Nico, David Montgomery, and Dalton Schultz. So both quarterbacks that are stacked have a running back, receiver, and tight end to pair with. And then at running back, we took Swift in the 4th, Montgomery in the 5th, Pollard in the 6th, Brooks in the 9th, and then Bigsby in, I believe, the 14th round. Pretty sure. But at receiver, we got pick 3, so Jamar Chase was an insta-click. I took Nico in the 2nd, lined up perfectly with ADP. And then a 2-pick slide on Rashee Rice. I think he should be moving up the board, not down. But Pittman in the 8th round, just to ensure I have a usable piece. And also opened up a Rodgers stack in case of emergency, but didn't need it. I got Jalen McMillan, though. I think a good value in that 12th round. And then Wicks for the stack should have some good spike week ability. Right at ADP, so lines up perfectly. And then Keenan Allen, just because I do think he will play somewhere. But tight end room is also pretty interesting. The elite touchdown upside, high upside with Goddard. Dalton Schultz, the elite floor, but maybe not the most touchdown production. Greg Dulcich, the wild card, definitely the target earner to acquire in Miami. Definitely the only receiver I want in the Dolphins offense right now. A random Caleb Douglas I'll take, but in general, I only want Achane and Greg Dulcich. Malik Willis is fine, even unstacked. So, interesting team. Structurally, definitely fine. Got no issue with it. It's just kind of like, will this running back room work? Yay or nay. But Brooks obviously could just be the skeleton key if he wins the job. Definitely pays off his ADP. So, like the team, quarterback room feels good. Even with Stroud, I don't hate it. And I think it definitely makes sense. I don't have a ton of Houston Texans stacks. So it's all fine. I'm fine with it. But receiver feels lit. If you're telling me I make the playoffs with this starting roster, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice in the lineup every week, good luck, brother. If I was in like the eliminator with this lineup, I'd feel pretty sweet. But in the fast puppy, who knows? All right, there weren't many of y'all in this one, but the two people who are right next to me are both members of the channel, so a team review is in order. Beck, I recognize you at the 107. Let me know if you're watching, Beck, and if you are a member. If not, no worries. But if you are, I don't want to skip it. So drop a comment just in case. I'll take a look at Game Tight and Burgess, though, before we move on. But Shit My Bread says he's with his 007 buddy. Who is that tight end that got taken at the tail end? Eli Raridan. Some people don't trust Hunter Henry. They are delusional to not trust Hunter Henry. But they did move off of Austin Hooper. Maybe Raridan scores like 4 touchdowns, like Hooper has in the past. But MacNova says, and if history tells us anything, there may be a lot of weeks Wicks doesn't do anything. Absolutely. There's 100% going to be weeks where Wicks is a completely irrelevant piece. But when he does factor in, like, I forget the team he faced last year, but like there was a week where they needed Dontavian Wicks. It was like kind of an obvious spot for Matthew Golden to step up, and they just decided, this is a Wicks team week. And I could see him take over, especially if like Devontae gets hurt. I think Wicks would crush in that scenario, but more of just a contingent upside. If I didn't have the stack, I don't know if I would have taken him. He's fine where he goes. But appreciate it, Danimal. Kent says, sup, boys. It's the first draft. It is. Yeah, first draft. We got one more on deck for sure. Appreciate that, Kent. So far, yeah, the team is not bad. But Beck is watching, but not a member. No need to do a review. No worries, man. Thanks for letting me know. But MacNova, I actually like Wicks at cost. I mean, yeah, I didn't reach on him. I took him literally exactly at his ADP of 190. So that's why he goes there, to stack with Hurts. That's the main reason why he's drafted. But okay, I think we can take a look at, we'll go Burgess first. Game Tight is in even more lobbies than Burgess is, but he gets Burrow with T. Higgins. He's got Bryce Young and Mendoza. Not the most compelling, but Bryce and Mendoza, they could both miss like 7 weeks. Like if you told me Bryce got benched this year, I wouldn't be that surprised. But 10 picks above ADP, I hope it's stacked up. But Scatabo, Rico Dowdle, Rashad, Jordan Mason, and Sean Tucker. That's fine. No issue there. Scatabo, I like. Rico is a nice little savior at 93. If you didn't get the fall on Rico, this team could look different. But Rashad is a pretty safe floor play, and then Mason just could be the play in Minnesota altogether. So he's been moving up the board. Anywhere past ADP right now on Mason is feeling like a gift. But Sean Tucker also going to hit the goal line a few times this year. But Amon-Ra, T. Higgins, Adams, Concepcion. So kind of a steep fall off, but Concepcion could play well. And at 124, it's a bit more tolerable. Hunter, Ryan Flournoy, Surratt, and Keon Coleman. So good luck with these two. I trust Surratt a lot more than Coleman, but can't really expect anything locked in for Surratt at this point in time. We'll see what camp reports dictate, but the top 3 are phenomenal. Then the rest of them are risky. So depth might be a concern on this one, but Bowers and Kraft, you've done that, I believe, on like all 3 of the last teams I've reviewed. So you just love Bowers and Kraft. And honestly, it feels very strong. It almost feels like you get away with it most of the time. If you had drafted Jalen Tolbert on this team, I would have, flipped the table or something. But I like to see that you're mixing it up. Glad to see that the intervention has, at least forced you to take a pause briefly. But this team's pretty solid. The quarterback room is a little bit gross in terms of depth, but the Burrow stack is kind of all you need to bet on. And then an unstacked Bryce Young, 10 picks above ADP. That's desperate. That just reeks of desperation. Why'd you do that? You took Bryce Young. Oh, yeah, damn. Quarterback got kind of steamed up the board there. Honestly, if you didn't take Bryce Young, it would have looked even worse. So, honestly, it's actually not terrible. It actually kind of fits. Among all the picks you could have made in the 13th round, even unstacked Bryce Young is actually fine. Based on the board, it's all right. But yeah, I reached on Wicks, right? Right at ADP, we reached on Wicks by 0 picks. Major reach. But If you think you are advancing, says A-Rod, with that team, you read too much into projections. Are we talking Burgess's team or mine? But if I would have had Willis, then I 1,000% went with Tolbert, but I didn't get the Malik Fall. Gotcha. Bryce has just needed a decent quarterback that could have rushing upside. You took Stroud, and I wanted Stroud over Bryce. That's fair. Yeah, I think in that range of the draft, the best values were either of the onesie positions. So Strange could have hit, but you already had 2 valuable tight ends. So pivoting to quarterback, I think, made the most sense. I actually think it was the right play to go Bryce Young there, unless you just like Rodgers more. But in terms of ADP, Brissett went at 156. So by comparison, it actually looks much better. All right. So honestly, the team's not bad. I respect this team a decent amount. There's a bit of risk at receiver, but in general, like all 4 positions feel like they can carry you. As long as Burrow checks out, as long as Burrow actually pays off, then you're living. I think this team is the best one I've reviewed in a few days for you, Austin. At least the one I like the most, despite the Bryce Young decision. All right, lastly, Game Tight was at the 102. He waited on quarterback for Baker at 122 in round 11. So let's see what happened. He may have gotten punished, though. He got Baker and Sam Darnold. That's it. That feels pretty thin. Darnold, your only QB2. If you have Allen, it's fine. If you have Lamar or Daniels, it might be okay. But with Baker, I'm not in love with it. Bijan, Jeremiah Love, Jalen Warren, Kyle Monangai, and Blake Corum. So kind of a unique running back room. A lot of backup investments. I think Warren is also the RB2 in Pittsburgh. Jeremiah's in more of a committee than we would like. But the anchor with Bijan, you can typically find a way to make it work. But I will say, I think you may have spent a little bit too much on rather mid running backs. Like Jeremiah doesn't feel like a good advanced piece. Warren feels less valuable than Rico. And then these two kind of need either a lot of touchdowns to hit or an injury for them to pay off. But obviously, if the starter does go down, you have a top 10 play. So elite contingent value. For top 100 picks, though, to be drafting backups is kind of gross. But you have Bijan. So I don't want to write it off entirely, but this running back room feels like it could have come at a cost. And obviously, quarterback does show that. But receiver, you got Pickens, Luther Burden, Mike Evans, Harrison, Wandale, Tesla, Ted Hurst, and Torrey Horton. It feels a little disappointing. Like, not gonna lie, it's all right, but it feels a little disappointing. The Burden click at 47 is, you know, always a little bit mid, but it could hit. Definitely, if I'm wrong on Harrison, should work out. The floor with Wandale's always nice, but then Tesla, Ted Hurst, and Torrey Horton, when they hit the lineup, it's with a touchdown, but more than 3 times for all 3 of them, maybe not. Alternating weeks, it could work, but if Pickens doesn't hit like last year, then this team could be kind of tough. Evans also will get hurt, so that's where I'm like, the receiver room's a little scary, but not terrible. Okonkwo, AJ Barner, and Gunnar Helm, a cheap tight end room that works. That's always checking out. And then the stack on Barner, very legit. Nice 11 pick slide on Gunnar Helm as well. Nice little fall on Gunnar Helm, but all right. Good luck at quarterback. I think that's the issue, and like your only stacking partner is Ted Hurst, so that's not the most exciting way to trust Baker that much. But when it's running back by committee, I wouldn't call it backups. I mean, for Warren, I guess, but like they are literally the backups. Maybe not Warren, but Monangai and Corum, I think, are literally backups. So I wouldn't take that back. Even if it's, you know, a committee, they're still the backup. But logistics, not that big of a deal. The RB2, no doubt. All right, we're going to draft another fast puppy. Let me catch up with the chat real quick. In regards to the overflow advancement comment, Spurs has QJ as his wide receiver 2 and Stroud as his QB1. Whoa. That doesn't feel good. that does not feel good at all. But Yeah, well, good luck, Anthony. Stroud QB1. That's gross, but I suppose we do never know. Maybe Stroud will pay off that QB5 capital we had on him a few years ago when he was a sophomore. But all day says, "What's up, Blunt? Cannot wait. 49 more days. Are we less than 50 days away? Damn, you're right. It is getting down to the wire. So what better time than draft best ball teams? If you're new to Underdog and you would like a promo code to sign up, I can get you $50 in bonus funds using promo code BLUNT. Code BLUNT is linked in the description. As long as you're a new customer, it applies as long as you're in the right territory of the U.S. There are some states that it's ineligible, but in general, for the most part, Underdog is available in your state, and new customers, once you play your first 5, get an extra 50 in bonus cash in your account. So promo code linked below. Check it out if you're interested. But Shamrock says last year Corum and Kyron were splitting drives only when Adams got hurt, and I think the contract that they gave Kyron firmly entrenches him as the RB1. Will Corum be more involved than the average backup? Probably by a lot. But if it wasn't the Rams offense, I don't think he'd be going anywhere near as high as he does. So for a literal backup, it is expensive, but they don't have that many weapons in LA. Like, they use the tight ends a lot, so Corum is relevant, but he's still literally the backup. I will not move off of that position. But all right, let's move on to the fast puppy. We will be drafting in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Instafill, so hopefully the lobby y'all got in when I was counting earlier on, but we get pick 4, just like pick 3, not my favorite spot to be in, and maybe it's going to be another triple whiteout team. If that's what I'm going to get stuck with, that's maybe what we're just going to do. But all right, we got Peyton the Legend Manning at the 101, Batweed at the 102, Rhino next to me at pick 3, Katz is in here at pick 5, Stooge is in here at pick 6, Danimal at 7, Go Horns at 8, McNick's in the house at 9, Matt Porter at 10, Wabi at 11, and then Jackson Duffy at pick 12. A lot of friends and family. It's not going to be an easy one. So good luck, gentlemen. I wish I didn't have pick 4, but it is what it is. I hope that one of us that makes it out of this this pod and advances does make the final. That's my wish. But X-Ree says, what was the highest you ever placed in a contest? About 150, 152 or something. Last year I had 2 teams in the finals. They were both in like 300 player pods in week 17, and the best one was like 150, 152, something like that. Made 2 finals teams. Neither of them I can brag about in terms of major winnings that came back to me. But yeah, I'll just take Puka. Just taking Puka. It's fine. But third draft, if we hit 50 likes. Let's see. We got 50 people watching, 26 likes right now. Sure, Austin. That sounds fine. Typically, I wouldn't set the like goal at 50, but if you're gonna do that, then sure. Here, I'll lower it to 44. Let's do 44. I'm not gonna do Best Ball Mania, I assure you that, but I'll offer something that's a little bit more realistic. Just because we have 50 people watching, exactly 50 likes may not happen. So I kind of always plan for 3, but sure, let's set a like goal. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. Always helps with the algorithm and everything, and helps boost the channel. Always appreciated. But Shamrock asks, who do you think will be wide receiver 1 in Arizona? I think it's still Marvin Harrison, but reluctantly. I don't think it's the hand that the team wants to play. I think Michael Wilson showed a lot of upside. I think they would like to trust him a little bit more, but I think based on draft capital and the new regime coming in, I think you just have to see what you have in Marvin Harrison, given he was a top 4 pick. And even when Michael Wilson had his breakout last year, when Harrison came back to the field briefly, the target share did readjust, and Harrison was back atop of the depth chart there. So I would still believe that the ADP is correct. I know it's not a fun pick to make. I don't really trust Harrison at all, but I do still believe he is the number 1 in Arizona. But ultimately, Trey McBride is the receiver 1 in the Cardinals offense. But Anthony, oh, was there an ad break? That fucking sucks. I don't set the ad breaks. They just happen on a recurring cycle. But there was a lot of people that got in this one, so it would have been tough to fit whether you were there for the countdown or not. But Kent, can we do a BBM for the 3rd draft? I did a BBM yesterday, so I don't think so. The sake of the budget says no. But AJ Brown's here? Sweet. At pick 21, I haven't seen that in a minute, so I'll take him past ADB for sure. Hell yeah. Double week 11 at receiver, I don't give a shit. If anything, I've been kind of thinking I might need to start reaching on AJ Brown just to get my exposures up. I had a lot of AJ Brown, 17% when he was a 3rd round pick, and I haven't taken as much of him in the 2nd. I would, if not for his Pat Surtain matchup in week 17. But you know what matters more just to get to week 17? Week 16. And you know who AJ Brown is playing? The New York Jets. If you have AJ Brown in week 16, you could very easily win the pod, or at least have the receiver 1 in that matchup. I could easily see AJ Brown being the best receiver in week 16. It's not a lock to happen, but he's absolutely top 10 pick at the position, and in that type of matchup, he could drop like 130 and 2 touchdowns. But Minnesota Motor Madness, hopefully Underdog drops some more cheap drafts soon. I mean, as long as there's the $5 lobbies still eligible to fill, I wouldn't expect them to do anything other than Frenchie Friday. That would be my guess. But all right, we're back on the clock here. I think I'll just make this a Breece Hall team. It's not the most exciting, but like eventually I just have to take it. My ranks say Chris Olave is the play. Actually, the ranks technically say Travis, but I haven't updated them in a minute. I'll just stick to ADP because I got the slightly unique combination of Puka and AJ Brown. So to adjust and take someone on the other side of the board isn't always my preferred course of action. Sometimes the right move when you get a falling value in the 2nd is to just take top of ADP in the 3rd. So as much as I don't love Breece Hall, he's still good enough to drop a random 30-pointer, and I don't have to worry about it in best ball. It's just instantly going to hit my lineup. So we will capitalize on his talent, but that's really the only reason he goes this high. In my opinion, the Jets RB1 is not more valuable than the Rams RB1, regardless of what you think about Blake Corum. On the surface, that just doesn't feel correct. So Breece is fine in best ball when he's the top of ADP, but I wouldn't reach on him. If anything, I think he should fall. But spike week ability, not that many guys the rest of the draft can drop 30. And you know it's going to happen. There will be at least one game where Breece Hall goes nuclear and drops 30 points. So maybe that's against the Vikings, week 17. Let's hope so. But don't love that matchup, honestly. Striker says I am under on AJ Brown as well because I refuse to ever take him ahead of Drake London. That's fair, especially if you had AJ Brown last season. You definitely got burned. Don't feel good taking him again. Sometimes the bitterness, though, can go too far, and I don't think it's unreasonable for him to go over London. He has a much better quarterback, that's for sure. And to tell me that Tua is locked in all season is not very good. Penix wasn't good enough to feel that safe with it. I don't think London is definitely more valuable than AJ Brown. Can he be Possibly he was last year. He's a very safe pick. But in my personal rankings, I do have A.J. Brown over Drake London. I actually have, believe it or not, Rashee Rice over Drake London, if you can believe it. But I'll go Evans today. I'm not going to take Burden, even though he's a top ADP. I've accomplished my goal. I looked up and saw that Luther Burden was very low in my exposures about a month ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago. And I kind of just decided, for the sake of just getting my shares and accepting my fate on it, I don't want zero Burden. So I just started taking him whenever he was a top ADP. Now I've gotten back up to 8%, and I still believe he's too expensive. So I rank Evans higher. I worry a little bit about Evans staying healthy, but it feels like a safer pick. And although I rank Adams higher, I already have Puka. So the double stack being committed to it in LA with Stafford, if I'm going to get it, I'd rather have a team with Adams in the 5th, not the 4th, if I already have Puka. But Adams goes at 50, so I don't have to worry about it. All is fine there. And then here, yeah, I'll just take the fall on Dave Montgomery. Let's do that. Back-to-back drafts, taking Dave Montgomery at pick 51 and 52. In the 5th, he's a fine pick. I got no issue with that. I think it helps the team. It's also like, by comparison to Breece Hall, I feel much more steady in the projection on Montgomery. And you could tell me Montgomery actually has a better season than Breece Hall in total points. I wouldn't push back on that. It's not impossible. We'll see what happens. But Huhaim says sounds like a Travion week. What, the Jets game? Yeah, the Jets game should definitely have some upside for Travion. But if anything, they probably just drop like 40 points. Like, that'd be my guess. The Jets just don't do jack fucking shit. But Drake May against the Jets week 16 feels like a very safe top 3 play at the position. But I don't have it particularly close. I think London is a full round better than a 29-year-old declining A.J. Brown. A full round, you say? That I would push back on. A full round is a lot. And in the second, it means even more. So, to each their own. If you want a full fade A.J. Brown, be my guest. But if he was in Philly, I would agree. In New England, it's just a different equation. And I want the Patriots receiver 1. It gives me an excuse to take Drake May if available. That's always a good pick. So you have no quarterback stacking options that feel good with London. London's a bit more in an isolated chamber because of that. So there's other factors that make me prefer A.J. Brown over London than just like raw stats and like how many catches I think he'll have. But if you want to fade him, you are entitled to do so. It's your money. Go for it. But I will say, I felt a lot better about it when I took him in the 3rd, back in pre-draft. I loaded up on A.J. Brown a lot in the pre-draft, in the 3rd round. He's one of my favorite clicks. But Katz is on the board. See what happens here. But I know where I'm going if he doesn't snipe me. I have no idea if he's watching. I have no idea. But it's irrelevant. I think it's the right pick. Will he make it? I don't know. But might go Pollard there. Does he take Drake May? He does, yeah. For May to fall, it's fine. Would have been awesome, though, to take him. But I'll go Jaden. If Jaden's going to fall as well, he's my next ranked quarterback, so I got no issue with it. And unstacked Jaden is never an issue. And that team with Terry, interesting. He had Terry, and he took Drake May. Interesting. But if you want May unstacked, I'll take Daniels unstacked. It is what it is. But Striker is Cats. Gotcha. Of course, that's what happens. Of course. I noticed you timed out there, so Yeah, it would have made sense a little bit more just to take Daniels stacked, but I have Drake May ranked above Daniels in my true rankings, so I don't have any pushback on it. It's totally. I didn't expect him to even make it to you at 68, so it's chill. No worries. But why do you have Rice over London? If you look at points per game last season, Rashee Rice scored more points per game than Drake London. That's why. I guess I'll go Ramondre on this one. Yeah, I'll go Ramondre. You're not gonna get him, Cats. Not a spite snipe at all. Just in terms of running backs to take here, I'm kind of underweight heavily on Ramondre, so mixing him in on a Breece Hall team, a team I'm already kind of a little bit pissed about. Anytime I'm in pick 4, I'm willing to take a player that I don't normally take. So I'll go Ramondre here, who, especially if Travion just doesn't pay off, will absolutely be worth this pick. But I do believe in Travion enough to where I'm like, meh. I don't love the Ramondre Stevenson click. I think I literally have like 2% Ramondre. Not gonna lie, I never take him willingly. But today, I guess it's a little different. We already took Breece Hall. Why not take a pick I don't like? Do you think the Eagles could become that 2024 team again? I mean, based on the trends, they get a Super Bowl caliber offensive coordinator. He signs with a different team as a head coach the next season. They replace him with someone that's not as good. They kind of fall off a little bit, but still make the playoffs. They fire that guy and then bring in somebody else that will lead them back to the Super Bowl. So it's totally viable. If anything, to bet against the Eagles to win the division is probably a bad call. But if they do, I think it's more so the defense gets back to just like truly elite. Last year it was good, but I wouldn't say it was as good as the Super Bowl defense. And that, I think, will be a factor. Without A.J. Brown, though, it's hard to assume the offense is just as good as a Super Bowl caliber offense 2 years ago. If you told me they got Mike McDaniel in free agency, I'd probably say yes. But McDaniel chose the Chargers, and the Eagles just did not get the best candidate on the market. No doubt about it. There was a better candidate that they would have happily taken other than Sean Mannion from the Packers system. I'm not fully sold that Sean Mannion is going to lead them to the Super Bowl yet again. I would not bet the Eagles to make the Super Bowl this year. So I don't think they'll be that good. Are they a playoff team? Most likely they are, winning the division. But that's basically what they were last year. So I wouldn't go as far to say they win the Super Bowl. Definitely not. But all right, coming back around, we got Puka, AJ Brown, and Mike Evans. So I think double committing to Pearsall might be the move. He might just get taken unstacked. But honestly, if I don't get the quarterback, I'm not going to be as upset, because I can still just go with Stafford if I want to. So we'll let the board decide. 3 teams with 2 picks, 6 slots, and maybe I get sniped on Purdy. But nobody has the stack available to them right here. Kittle has been moving up the board, so the odds of Kittle making it back at 119 are very, very slim. So if anything, that might dissuade someone from taking the stack as well. But I'm pretty convinced Pearsall is going to be fantastic at cost. I legitimately think Pearsall could move up the board to where Quentin Johnston's going, and it would be totally viable as a pick. But if I don't get Purdy, there's also some running backs in this range. Before last call, it wouldn't be the end of the world, given I have Breece Hall, Montgomery, and Ramondre. There's some gross clicks here at running back a little bit on this one. Not my favorite combo of RBs, but Worthy goes to the Mahomes drafter. Rhino might take him, but if I had to guess, I get Purdy at 100. Yeah, I do. We get the Evans and Purdy double stack. That feels pretty sweet, pretty awesome. and a different bye week than Jaden Daniels. So if I want to stop with those two, I definitely can. There is some injury risk with these two quarterbacks. Jaden has definitely missed some time. Same with Purdy. Seems like every year, assuming 17 games with these two quarterbacks is pretty misguided. But injuries can be fluky, can definitely just have a fully healthy season all of a sudden. So if I get a good price, if I get a good falling value and it makes sense for a stack, I'll go for it. But the double combo with Evans and Pearsall, definitely a reason to take Purdy on this one. And then Jaden unstacked is always fine. Ain't no issue with that. All right, fun team so far. Interesting combo. And the receiver room feels pretty lit. But striker, I have May ahead of Jaden as well. I think that's the right call, especially when you factor in injury risk. Drake May feels way, way safer in that regard. But we got 5 more likes until 50. We did hit 45, so we have locked in draft number 3, and it will be another fast puppy after this one. We're halfway done, so we'll get there pretty soon. But Zero saying the poll is sharp today. Let me check back in on the poll. If anything, Burrow has been more cemented as the top option, but since I last checked in, Jalen Hurts has overtaken not just Herbert, but also Caleb. So early votes was pretty low on Jalen Hurts, and then more recently, more of a double down on Burrow, and then Jalen has been resurrected in the poll. So we got 55 votes at this point. There's probably not going to be that many more. So I'll leave it up for a little bit longer, but this is kind of what I expected. I thought maybe some of you guys would be on board with my Herbert take, but I think if anything, there's probably more of you that think Herbert could be like QB3 or QB2 on this list than like truly believing he could be QB1. But I will say I am in the minority. I do have Herbert as my top ranked quarterback among these 4, but they're all in the same tier. They're all kind of identical to me. I think any given week, they could all put up top 5 numbers and all have a chance to win the MVP. Hurts, probably not. If I had to guess, Hurts is probably the least likely to win MVP, but fantasy-wise, always valuable with his rushing value. All right, so Stafford might make it back. I could just take Stafford if I want, but I'm not going to lie. I'm not dying to do it. Batwheat has Mahomes, but he also has Adams. I could go Stafford here, but I actually rank Matthew Golden above him. And there's not many receivers I think have the same upside as Matthew Golden. I kind of want to go Chris Rodriguez, but I kind of just can't help myself on Matthew Golden. I think there's a world where he's actually more valuable than Jaden Reed, straight up. It's not a guarantee, but I think for the price discount and the injury risk with Watson, Jaden Reed, and Tucker Kraft, I believe the Packers throw the ball more this season, and the breakout on Golden, I think, is a viable bet. But Stafford does go to Rhino. No, he has Corum, so just took the falling value, played Integrity Protector, did not let the Adams drafter get Matthew Stafford. That's fair. 118, I understand it, but it does feel way, way better to have Stafford paired up with someone because he never runs the ball. But striker, I hate this entire part of the draft. Who do you usually take round 7? Normally, my most drafted player round 7 is Justin Herbert. I take Herbert. Sometimes I pull up Rico Dowdle. I was taking QJ when he was in the 7th, but now he's in the 6th. So that's not great. I do not like taking DK Metcalf. I hate taking Chuba Hubbard. I don't like taking Warren. I took Ramondre today, but like, whatever. So many weird clicks in the 7th. Not fun. That's why I take Herbert the most. So if you can get a quarterback in the 7th, I think you're kind of playing it right. And then Dak feels like he has to be stacked up because he doesn't run the ball. Not the same way that Herbert does. And sweet. I played this pretty nicely. I can still take Chris Rodriguez, so I'll do that. I do not like JCM. Not at all. I'll go C-Rod. kind of another floor play, doesn't catch any passes, but was better than JCM last year in terms of goal line role. He stole it from JCM. I trust my eyes in the stats last season. I will happily draft Chris Rodriguez in a better situation on the Jaguars above Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Now, I almost took Stephon Diggs because I have Jaden, and it would have made some sense, but I have a lot of shares of Diggs, and the rise has already mostly happened. Like, at this point, Diggs has already risen up like 25 picks. He opened BBM at like pick 150, so he has moved up like a round and a half already, if not two. And there's also no guarantee that he signs in Washington. It could be Debo. It could be Keenan. They might not sign any of them. They could trade for Calvin Ridley. Like, who the fuck knows? I believe they bring in someone, but there's no sure bet that it's actually Stephon Diggs. But Zero says Caleb should probably be fourth on the list. Maybe. But Andrew says, I remember I drafted with you in pre-draft and saw you got AJ in the third, and I loved your team. I realized how much of a steal he was thereafter. I was getting third-round Pickens and Nico a lot. Yeah, the board was very interesting in the pre-draft. There were a lot of solid picks, but if there was one guy I was like worried that would go to the Patriots and all of a sudden be like a round 1-2 turn type of pick, it was AJ Brown. So I drafted him a lot back in the day. And a lot of the time I did set it up with Drake May. I was even optimistic that he could go to the Chargers as well. But interesting to see that he has completely overtaken Pickens and Nico. Even though they were both also in the third round, they've all kind of moved up. It seems like the running backs kind of adjusted. We were trusting Trey McBride a lot back then. We were trusting London, I think, a lot more back then. It might be worth going back and looking at one of those teams in the pre-draft and just seeing what the ADP actually looked like. Because it wasn't that much different, but I remember Chase Brown was a third-round pick as well. That one was pretty crazy. Nice. But, ooh, this is nice. This could be sweet. Goddard goes. Damn it. I definitely wanted Goddard the most. But if Likely's going to fall 11 picks, I will take him over Chig. I don't see a huge difference between the two, but in terms of ADP price, I'll take the fall on Isaiah Likely. And Unstacked Daniels is still not the end of the world. If anything, you want Terry McLaurin with Jaden Daniels. But maybe Chig makes it back. It's definitely possible. I could have gone Tyrone Tracy there, but the fall was a little bit more valuable to me, given I didn't have a tight end yet. Isaiah Likely at 141 was not bad, but Andrew said drafted 5 teams the next day with the specific intention to get AJ in the third and still only got like 2 shares. Luckily, I got him the day of the trade a few times at the 2-3 turn, which was nice. It feels like it will work out. I think of all the quarterbacks for AJ Brown to go to, I do think Drake May is like by far the best possible scenario he could have asked for. So it probably is worth it in round 2. But the third felt way better. And if not for the Pat Surtain matchup, like I said, I probably would be taking a lot more AJ Brown. But all right, we got some really gross options. I think I'm just going to take Brenton Strange today just for the sake of like exposures for the most part. I like all these receivers in this round, but lately I've taken Strange the least, so I will go in that direction today. I think they're all good picks. My preference is Hunter Henry, but if I did that all the time, I would have like 25% Hunter Henry. So I go Strange today, just a little bit different, and we already have another Jaguar, so the bring back with Jaden Daniels is also a factor. Week 17, Jaguars versus Commanders is one of the games I like a lot. The Commanders defense is trash. The Jags secondary can give up a lot, and that game could turn into a back and forth shootout. Absolutely. Also, I feel pretty confident in assuming Chris Rodriguez scores a touchdown in the revenge spot. But Hartman says, I think Herbert QB2 on the list is fair. Yeah, vehemently number one. If you don't feel that confident like I do, that's totally fine. If anything, I'm biased. But number two, I think, is a very legit consolation prize. He can absolutely pay off number two. And Hurts is a competitor, but he has been losing value the last 3 seasons. He's consistently lost some value the last 3 seasons. But do I ever draft on DraftKings? Feels not as sharp sometimes. I have not drafted on DK, actually. And for the sake of maybe aesthetics, it's nice to have the same background. But I will say, I am a bit loyal to Underdog. I've dipped my toes on drafters just a couple times. However, I owe a lot of my presence on YouTube this year to Underdog, not gonna lie. If not for them giving me some site credit back in February when I renewed the partnership deal, it's possible I would not be where I am right now. Like, legitimately, I would not have drafted anywhere near as many teams. So as kind of just like treating them with the respect I think they deserve after gifting me such a nice, you know, token of gratitude and everything. Like, if anything, I owe some shit to Underdog for the sake of the draft. So that's where we stick. And honestly, I prefer to draft here. I think it sharpens my takes the best. But I don't really like any of these picks. So I'll just take Trey Harris. When in doubt, take the Charger. That feels fine. But Pepper Tony says, smoke weed, it's good. You got it, brother. The moderator says smoke weed, we'll do that. I have to pack the bowl, though. I'm out. But Ryan says, I'm getting sniped on all the Bills players. I know. Round 11, it sucks to not even get Shakir when you have Allen. But if you get Kincaid, that's the stack that I think is most valuable by like a mile. I think that's what you want. But this is bad. I hate it, but I'm going to take my first share of Kenyon Sadiq. And if Geno makes it back, maybe this is like a Geno team. But I already have Brees on the team. I don't have a single share of Kenyon Sadiq. I literally checked it. In pre-draft, I took him a decent amount. I believe like 11%. But since he went to the Jets, I've literally clicked him 0 times. I've drafted over like 200 teams since the NFL draft. And because he's on the Jets, I have never taken him. But Stooge takes Geno with Omar Cooper. If anything, I'm grateful for that. I don't actually want Geno Smith. But Pepper Tony says likely will lead the Giants in targets and receiving touchdowns. If that's the case, he was a phenomenal pick. 10 picks past. If that's the case, we just won the lobby, perhaps. But maybe the Giants just have such a bad offense. Even if he does that, it might be worthless. But get your 50 likes, indeed. Yeah, appreciate everyone for hitting 50. Petey, I think you may have been like 51, Petey. I think so, but MacNova, easy to get high and draft teams on site credit. Yeah, very, very easy to do that. Yeah. No lies were spoken in this comment. But when I was on site credit, I got 30% Justin Herbert. I think I played it as well as you can. Take your favorite team's quarterback that is set to explode when it's not your money. But at this point, it's fully my money. At this point, every draft you see me, every team you see me draft is completely on my dime. So when it's dog shit, you can legitimately laugh and say, "Yep, you just burned that money, brother. You paid the rake there." And on occasion, I draft some bad teams. like to pretend like I don't have some stinkers every now and then would be lying to you. But we mentioned it. Maybe Calvin Ridley gets traded. Maybe it's to the Commanders. Maybe. I've been trying to click him more. Antonio Williams falls, but I still think he's not valuable. I'll go Calvin Ridley. Fuck it. But if Williams falls back, I might just take him. I might do that. But all right, let's recap the team so far. The 2-4-7-3. We have 2 clicks left. I definitely need another running back. I might need 2 because receiver feels good enough to just stop. I could maybe use a rookie receiver. Those are always valuable, but I do have Kenyon Sadiq already, so that kind of checks the box off. I got Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, Dave Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Rodriguez, and one more running back is definitely the play, but Ray Davis goes. My rank, though, says Katron, and it's also paired up with Daniels. This is the final. This is the stack. This is the stack I'll take. Katron with Jaden Daniels. Maybe Rashad White goes down. I don't trust JCM in that department. I don't believe JCM is a big deal. Katron, I think, could win the job if you told me if you told me Rashad gets completely injured. But I do think he can just steal the goal line role, and I do like Katron a lot in the 17th round. So we'll go him, another commander, but if anything, Jaden just might as well be unstacked. It's not really valuable to go with a Jaden Daniels Katron stack and expect that to be the piece that you need. Probably not. But maybe, especially if I have a different quarterback in line, like let's say I have Purdy in the lineup week 17. Daniels might not hit because Katron might score like 3 touchdowns. Maybe Katron has like 3 rushing scores, and that's the reason why Daniels doesn't hit our lineup. Maybe that happens. But PD thinks Diggs to the Commanders. I think that's the best bet to make, but nothing is guaranteed. It's probably going to be the case, though. If I had to guess where he'd go, I would agree. It's probably Washington. But they might just bring back Debo. They might not do anything. They might bring in Keenan. I doubt that, but they might. And then who knows? Maybe they do trade for someone like Calvin Ridley or Jerry Jeudy. That'd be pretty interesting. But they're not really a team that has shown they want to spend a lot in like trades. They traded for Marshawn Lattimore. It went pretty poorly. I don't feel like they have the best front office in the NFL. I can't say I trust the Commanders wholeheartedly. If anything, Jaden Daniels' rookie season felt like more of a fluke than something to expect year over year. And last year, it was definitely proof of that. They fell off a big cliff last season. But their offense will be productive for fantasy. Their defense, I don't think, is going to help them at all. So I think they're going to be in losing game script a lot. So trailing, there's going to have to throw a little bit more often. And maybe Jaden Daniels does scramble even more. But they do need another receiver. I don't think they can go into the year fully trusting Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Treylon Burks. Like, they have a pretty shaky receiver depth chart. It's kind of just Terry and a bunch of dudes, no one you trust. But, all right, decisions. Where do I go with this last pick? If I had London, I could go with Tua, but we did not do that. Jaden Blue is still here. Pick 213, so this lobby didn't trust him, but if I am going to take Jaden Blue these days, he's getting drafted in every lobby at this point. I'll take him at 213. 20 picks past ADP. Why not? At this stage, ADP is a full construct. It doesn't really mean much, but I don't like clicking him above Katron, so Jaden Blue, 213. It is what it is. All right. A full recap, position by position. We go Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy. That feels fine, but a little injury prone. That's the only risk They miss like 5 games apiece. But Brees Hall, Dave Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Rodriguez, Katron Allen, and Jaden Blue feels mid as fuck. But like, could be fine, especially if we get the right spikes on Brees Hall. I think we'll have enough points as long as Travion doesn't just go nuclear, where Dave Montgomery and Ramondre cover my ass. Enough to get there. So hopefully I can advance to that running back room, but it does feel a little bit shaky. Puka, AJ Brown, Mike Evans feels excellent though. And then with Ricky Pearsall, that Purdy stack is even more valuable. And then Golden at 117 is a very nice discount. I already believe he goes a little too late in the ADP. But Trey Harris, expecting a breakout from him. He's liked a lot internally. I think they like him enough not to re-sign Keenan Allen or anyone. But Calvin Ridley, who the fuck knows what happens with him. If he stays in Tennessee, that was a bad pick. But Isaiah Likely at an 11 pick fall, that's always sweet. Brenton Strange, a good pick where he goes. And then Kenyon Sadiq, also 11 picks past ADP. So a total 22 picks of value on Isaiah Likely and Kenyon Sadiq. They're both talented. The New York tight ends with the Giants and Jets hopefully pay off around discount. Hopefully that's the case. But I think the only issue with the team is maybe running back just doesn't have enough upside. However, quarterback could just get hurt in a way where I just don't have the right pieces. That is the big risk on this team. Daniels and Purdy go down. I think that's the main issue. I could have used maybe another stacking partner with Daniels, but he runs enough where it doesn't matter. And I have Purdy double stack. So it's all good. We're chilling in that department. All's fine on this one. But Daniels is a good team. I like it. It could be a little stronger at running back, but sometimes you just don't get the falling values. The Brees Hall, Dave Montgomery start, I think is good enough. And then Ramondre, Chris Rodriguez could actually be the leading touchdown guys in their backfields. It's totally possible this season. But all right, that's my team. There's a few of you guys in this lobby as well with me. Let's see who gets a team review. We got members with Batwheat. He's at the 102. There's also Danimal in here. He's a member. And then I believe Gohorns became a member just the other day, either yesterday or Sunday. So we'll review his roster. And then otherwise, I believe that is the last membership to mention. If I forgot you, apologies. Sometimes I lose track. And all you got to do, if I missed it, is just drop a comment. And I'll see your username. Let me know which roster you have, and I will review your team. But let's go in order, starting with Batwheat. Welcome in, bro. You have pick 2, and you went with Mahomes, Kyler, and Aaron Rodgers at 122. Kyler Murray is excellent, even unstacked. It's a very good pick. He runs the ball enough. It doesn't matter. But Rodgers at 170, I believe you had... Oh, no, he's unstacked. Rodgers unstacked is a little bit mid, but he still goes late enough where he's probably worth his ADP in terms of just raw points. I think it's fine. But we got Bijan, Jeremiah Love, Tony Pollard, Keaton Mitchell at 143, and Emmett Johnson. The running back room is fine. I don't love Jeremiah, but with Bijan, you can definitely talk yourself into it a little bit more. I love the Pollard click. If I'm going to take Keaton, it's going to be past ADP, so it feels a bit better, but I actually prefer him closer to 150. It is what it is, though. He's not worthless, that's for sure. Emmett Johnson, though, the backup in Kansas City. Not sure what his role is going to be, but I think he is more talented than this ADP would suggest. But George Pickens, J-Mo, Devontae Adams, Mekhi Lemon, Xavier Worthy, Ted Hurst, and Tyquan Thornton. The chat wondered why you didn't take Jalen Hurts, and based on the poll, they consider him more valuable than Caleb and Herbert. So that could have been a different pick to go with. Was it this team? Or oh no, it was a different. It was the last lobby. My bad. I was like, yeah, that something's off. No, you did not have access to Hurts. That's right. Okay, yeah, this Forget I said that. I confused you with the last one. Okay, so just Lemon at 74. Worthy for the stack. Ted Hurst, Taekwon for the stack, and then Travis Kelce also for the stack. Okonkwo at 146 feels better. I like it more at 150, but it's fine. Totally fine. And then Hawkinson with Kyler. Pretty gross, but does stack up, so it's fine. So running back depth is a little bit tricky, but Pollard feels like he's pretty critical to the team. Receiver, I hope stays healthy, but should piece together. I think the value on Lemon is too pricey. Honestly, I think he should go later. So unstacked, it's not as exciting. And then Worthy is my least favorite Chief. I think he could also just burn you. I'm not convinced he's actually good. So I don't love those two picks. And that's why Hurst and Taekwon actually kind of matter a little bit on this one. But overall, the team is well built. It's balanced. And then it's just kind of player take wise. Guys like Hawkinson, guys like Keaton Mitchell. And then an unstacked Rodgers always feels a little bit out of place, but he's good enough to be worth this. And you never know. Mahomes might start slow. Kyler may not stay healthy. Maybe you do need Rodgers just to advance. But that click is a little bit out of place. All right. Good team, though. I think it's decent. I wouldn't say it's ineligible, but I felt like there could have been a few more bringbacks possibly. But the Chief stack is definitely all you need if you make it to week 17. But we mentioned Danimal as well. He's got Lamar and Burrow, the bring back with the quarterbacks. Kind of expensive, but totally understand it. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, the big dogs, just bet on him again. Cam Scatabo, excellent pick in the 4th. Algier and James Conner, so wow. Either the mega fade on Jeremiah, or you're just convinced that Conner gets cut, goes somewhere else, gets traded or something like that, and he is relevant, he is valuable in the last round, and therefore, by playing on another team, Algier becomes more valuable as well. So, in that regard, I don't hate it. At cost, I think Algier is very talented compared to the other running backs going around him. I think he is the best running back on the board. It's just the situation that is, makes you want to vomit. But to take both him and Conner, I assume you're betting Conner plays somewhere else. T. Higgins is stacked up, though. DK Metcalf at 79 is all right. You have Pittman as well, so the unstacked Rodgers snipe, I'm sure you were pissed off about that. Diggs, his wide receiver 4, is okay, but maybe not the safest way to go about it. Travis Hunter, receiver 5, very unsafe decision, but worth the upside. A little scary, but you attacked it with volume, so you have 9 total. That can definitely tolerate a Travis Hunter selection. But Debo, also betting on him gaining value. You took him 13 picks above ADP. Tesla at 175, a nice little discount there. Dontavian Wicks and Keenan Allen. I took all 3 of these picks earlier today. I've definitely taken the veterans. I take Hunter. I take all these guys. Maybe not that much DK Metcalf, but he's a fine click where he goes. But then Pitts and Kittle, that could be enough to get it done. I don't hate it, but there's a world where Pitts doesn't pay off at all, and that 40-point game last year is really like the only reason to even consider him. But he could just be inconsistent again, and then Kittle could be injured more than expected. But if they're both healthy, if they both pay off, then that's definitely good enough to get the job done. But I would expect some missed games out of George Kittle. So that's the cost of 9 receivers, only 2 tight ends. When you have Kittle, I think I prefer taking a third. Not going to lie. The Travis Hunter pick could have been a tight end, and I would like this team more. You took Hunter over Dallas Goedert and Isaiah Likely. I think if you swap that out for either of those two, I think this team is fucking lit. But some people don't love the tight end 3. I understand it. Receiver kind of needed some help. It's fine the way it is. It's quite a nitpicking type of complaint. So I would agree. Pretty good team. Pretty good team. A-Rod says good team in the overflow for young Moolah. But having Burrow and Lamar, definitely got to stop there. That's for sure. But yeah, that's the only way to play Connor, assuming he goes somewhere else. There's no way you believe he stays there if you take both of them. But all right, let's. Oh yeah, we have one more. It's Go Horns. I'm pretty sure Go Horns is a member. He got it yesterday. All right, last team to review, and then we'll do one more Fast Puppy, as promised. But Allen and Daniel Jones, it's not Allen and Jordan Love, so it's a bit more unique. Yeah, that's Ryan. I like Allen with Daniel Jones. Good price, but Jones a little above ADP. I hope you have Tyler Warren. You do. Okay, that's fine. No issue with that. Kenneth Walker, Kyron, Bucky, Charbonnet, and Sampson. I'm not sure this is the best environment for a Charbonnet team, but there's, a lot invested at running back that should pay off. So I don't totally hate it, but because I'm so low on Bucky, I think that's why I don't like it. I don't totally believe in Bucky at cost, so that's where I think I'd rather have a fourth above Charbonnet, because Sam's is not going to help you. You could still just advance with these three if they stay healthy, but if you miss any time or Bucky just doesn't pay off, then you could be slightly in dire straits. But I see the vision. I understand it. It is a little bit risky, though, with Sharps. No doubt about it. But Ryan thinks differently. I think Bucky's going to move up the board a bit soon. It's definitely possible, but I just don't think they're going to give him any touchdowns. He didn't have a single rush attempt inside the 5-yard line last season. That is my main red flag on Bucky Irving. Even if he's there, how many touchdowns will he offer? I think Kenny Gainwell is the best way to play the Bucs backfield, but that's just me. I could be wrong. If I am, then Bucky definitely gives you a fighting chance. But CeeDee Lamb, Alec Pierce, Jordan Addison. We got Jacoby Myers and Wan'Dale Robinson, so a lot of volume with 4 and 5. Shakir also locks up a lot of volume at number 6. And then Malik Washington, I don't like it, neither with Cooper Kupp. I think these last two picks are a little bit wasted. You don't feel excellent about it with Pierce as your number 2, so I kind of understand the volume, but I just don't like these two player takes. I think I would rather have mixed in one rookie and then taken a gamble on somebody else than these two. I think Malik is pretty worthless, honestly. He averaged like 4.8 points per game once Tyreek came off the field. But I'm realizing my bowl is packed and it hasn't been smoked, so I promised it to y'all. We'll definitely do that. You have Tyler Warren, Gadsden, and Njoku. So the double Chargers, that's interesting. I don't hate it, but one of them might just be a terrible pick, and therefore you have a terrible pick on your roster if that's the case. So I don't love to play it with both. I'd rather just have one team with one, another team with the other, and just kind of bet on it that way. Because there is value in the Chargers tight end room, but how much can they both hit and pay off together? It might ping pong off one another, but maybe the polar bear is going to fuck you over. The Kolar bear might be an issue. I don't believe that. So I think it's fine. But I don't love having both. And then, like I said, Malik and Cooper Kupp feel kind of bad to me. But everything else checks out. If you're right on Bucky, then I like the team a lot. But I worry a little bit about the Charbonnet RB4. But all right. I mainly took him for week 17. Malik Washington versus Allen? I don't... Okay. Sorry to laugh, but like, at that point, give me Chris Bell. Like, for week 17, I'd rather bet on one of the rookies in Miami than round 7 Malik Washington. Like, Washington's like early season. So I could be wrong. I just I just don't see it on Malik Washington myself. So we'll see. We'll find out. But I believe that's who you're referencing. Ryan has 30%. Chris Bell. I can't. Caleb Douglas is interesting, but if anything, I don't know. Just move off the Dolphins passing game. The Dolphins passing game for the bringback, I don't think is the play. If I am gonna take one, give me Dulcich. Dulcich is the only one I kind of want. But McNix says Malik Washington has 3 catches for 148 and 2 in the first quarter. Then Josh and Khalil are playing catch up. I can see it. McNix, this is his YouTube username, but really he was born with the name Nostradamus. McNix knows exactly what he's talking about in regards to this projection. But the Tolbert slander is wild. I love the ... at the end. The ellipse of like leaving me in suspense on that. If I'm wrong on Tolbert, so be it. So be it. But all right, it's time to draft in the Fast Puppy. First, though, I'm going to take a rip from the pipe. We will count it down right after this smoke break. We lasted way too long there without a smoke break, but we're drafting in the Fast Puppy in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Yeah, taking Tolbert in every draft is wild, but at least he didn't do it earlier. He was in that first lobby. He didn't do it, but sweet. I get pick 11. I definitely like this side of the board a little bit more than picks 4 and 5. But we got Beck in the house, King Spice at the 102, Peyton the Legend Manning at the 103. Katz is in here again at the 104. The Bird just made it in for the second time tonight at pick 5. Lone N8 at the 106. Kenny the Jet at the 107. Danimal at the 108. McNix at pick 9. Spurs at 10. I have pick 11. Then Go Horns at pick 12. So basically a full lobby. I think the only team I don't recognize is King Spice and Lone N8. If y'all are watching, let me know in the chat. But Cameron, I think the Dolphins offense could be slightly competent for their price. I mean, when it's undrafted, yeah, I guess for the price, it's, you know, the bar's pretty low. Wide receiver 94. Yeah, it could be competent for that price, definitely. Will they factor in consistently? I don't think so. I think they probably bring someone in still. I'd be baffled if they rock with what they got going at receiver when the season actually kicks off. Or like at any point they're not like, oh shit, we need somebody. But they are tanking after all. So they might just do it. They might just say fuck it. But a 5th round pick for Jerry Jeudy? I don't know. I would do that if I was in the Dolphins' shoes. If the Browns are willing to play ball, you need Jeudy a lot more than they do. I would do it. But Dean Johnson, Malik Washington did nothing all year after Tyreek was out. He had over 40 yards twice. Yeah, his yards were useless. I'll go Genty today. Haven't taken him in a little bit. And if I pass, I'm not totally convinced that Go Horns will give him up. So I'll go Genty. He takes Jefferson. Didn't expect Jefferson, but Genty and my boy, the Jempty Hampton start. Chef's kiss. It's been a minute. Back to the bread and butter. Let's fucking go. Living it up with the year 2 breakouts. Genty and Hampton always feels good. But who Hames? Tolbert was supposed to be a thing 2 years ago and definitely wasn't. I got burned on Jalen Tolbert last year as well. Last year, CeeDee Lamb got hurt. They go up against the Jets. I believe it was like week 5, maybe week 4. Who's the guy I pick up off the waiver wire knowing that Sauce Gardner will be draped on George Pickens. I take Jalen Tolbert. I had CeeDee Lamb on my PPR team, and I had to figure it out with somebody on the bench, and I didn't like my bench options. So I said, fuck it. I looked to the waiver wire. I picked up Jalen Tolbert for $1 on Saturday. And you know what I did? I actually started him in my lineup. And you know what happened? Jalen Tolbert put up a fucking bagel. And despite my logic being right, it wasn't Jalen Tolbert that hit. It was Ryan Florno that week. Ryan Florno had over 100 yards and a touchdown on the fucking Jets, while Jalen Tolbert put up a bagel in my fucking lineup. I will never, ever trust Jalen Tolbert again. But how many pipe rips would I need to draft Malik Washington? That's a good question. How many rips from the pipe would it take me to go back in time to 2023? That's when I actually had a little bit of excitement on Malik Washington. When he was a rookie, shout out Brett Coleman. I remember watching a video from Brett Coleman before the NFL draft, and like players that no one's talking about that you should know. And Malik Washington was on that list, and that's when I first heard his name. Then I looked into it, had so many catches at Vanderbilt. He played, or was he at, he was at Vanderbilt. I'm pretty sure he was at Vanderbilt. He looked actually pretty good coming out of college in terms of just raw stats. But falling to the 7th round was definitely like, oh shit, maybe I was too high on this guy. And then his production in the Mike McDaniel offense with no Tyreek Hill was pretty abysmal. So I wouldn't trust him. Maybe there's a random touchdown, but in general, I would never trust Malik Washington. So there may not be enough weed in the world to get me to take him. But Ladd is still here, absolutely. Seems like Travis has been falling consistently into the 4th. Now that the hype train has firmly left the station on Alvin Kamara. So I'll go Ladd, Ladidi come on down. The correct pick. Worth a 3rd rounder, but will Herbert make it back to me? Probably not. I might just have 2 Chargers unstacked, and that's fine. It's not the end of the world. But damn it, I actually kind of wanted Tet McMillan on this one. I would have taken Tet if available. I'm a little underweight on Tet, and the discussion with Who Hames today made me more interested in drafting Tet. But today, actually, when I was doing my rankings, I realized I might have not enough of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson probably deserves to be the player that moves up the board above Zay Flowers, above Devontae Smith, above Igbuka. I don't think above Olave nor T. Higgins, but above Ladd possibly. I wouldn't do it, but possibly. He was so productive last year. You can argue his quarterback situation gets better compared to Justin Fields, but it's not like the chemistry from college is the same with Geno like it was with Justin Fields. So Garrett Wilson feels like he's in a crowded offense. It's always gross to take a jet, but honestly, it's probably one of the safest picks you could find. He probably is worth a 3rd round pick. But once Debo signs in Miami, they all become dust. Yeah, there's also that factor. They could just sign someone, and it's all worthless. But Tolbert had 610 yards and 7 touchdowns as the number 3 receiver. But last year, Ryan Flournoy ate his lunch. The price is a wild statement. But I think one of those receivers is going to be useful. Malik Willis isn't that valid. If I'm taking one, it's Caleb Douglas. Give me the rookie that's healthy. That's where I think they're going to kick the tires more so than anyone else. But I think taking Malik could give me a few spike weeks. Washington, maybe one game with like 12 points. That would be my guess. But if he scores 3 touchdowns, you'll get like 2 games with less than 10. He'll probably have like 30 yards and a touchdown on like 2 catches for like 10.2 points. I'm willing to be wrong on this. I don't see Malik Washington having any relevance. But Chase Brown at 5. Oh yeah, he did go at 5. Yo, Austin Burgess just doing whatever he fucking wants. X3. Sometimes I hate my picks I make, but I just try to focus on structure of what I need. Yeah, I like to focus on structure, but then there's also some players that I just hate the price on. And like, I just try to avoid teams that need those picks. I try to set up a structure that just prevents that player from being totally necessary, but damn it. I'll go Beischel Tootin. If I get BTJ, then we get the double Jacksonville, so it's a consolation prize, but I don't really want to pass on Rome Odunze there. He goes Rome and BTJ, so yeah, kind of annoying. Do I just pull up Herbert? Do I just take Herbert here? Nah, I'm going to go Tyler Warren. I almost took Jordan Tyson. I wasn't bold enough to take Herbert. But with Ladd and Hampton, it's not the craziest choice. But no, I'm not going to do it. I know, right when I believed in Jalen Tolbert, he shit the bed. Right when I fucking believed, I get rug pulled. Right when I think it's the most obvious fucking logic possible. Like, well, Dak can't throw it to Sauce Gardner all fucking game. Maybe Jake Ferguson crushes, but there's got to be somebody else that steps up. Let's go Jalen Tolbert. Let's roll the dice on Tolbert. Nope. Snake eyes. You needed Flournoy. Fuck you. When that's your experience, it lives with you. It fucking lives with you, man. But probably one of Diggs or him, maybe Jonnu or Keenan. It would be interesting if Jonnu Smith is still relevant next year. I don't think he's going to sign, but I guess he's not going to retire. But can he play for Ohio State? Can Arthur Smith bring him in? That's probably his quickest path for success. Dean Johnson says Flournoy is a physical specimen. Maybe it's just that Flournoy is that good. Maybe, like, the Cowboys just had no other choice because Flournoy is just that fucking good. But up to that point, Tolbert was the only one that had relevant usage and had a few games with like 75 yards randomly. There were instances where he had paid off when you streamed him prior to last year. But Huhames had 72% Turpin in second quarter because of the slot matchup in that game, and he got hurt week 4, and then Flournoy smashed in Turpin's spot. Yeah, the Turpin injury also factored in for Flournoy last season, but I think he played so well, it's like unquestioned he has the number 3 job all to himself. But yeah, Turpin used to be kind of relevant, might have a random, punt return touchdown or something. Who knows? But Striker, I was drafting some last round Turpin last year as well. On occasion, Turpin will hit a 15-pointer, but yeah, Malik Washington, I think, was on that video. I think there was somebody else on that video that did hit, though. I think he hit on somebody else, but I forget. Oh, yeah, he had Garendo in that video. I learned about Malik Washington and Isaac Garendo that same video, but shout out Brett Coleman. Definitely an inspiration in the YouTube football space. Definitely an awesome channel. Several awesome channels. And he also works for the Chargers. Whenever I go to Chargers games, his face is on the big screen during like timeouts and like pregame and stuff. Fuck. This is pretty sad. But I'll stack up Trevor Lawrence with Beischel Tootin. I think we'll get Jacoby Myers late. Travis Hunter's an option late. We can also get Brenton Strange possibly. So I have seen teams that just take T-Law unstacked at this turn, and it saves their team. So it's fine. We have Tootin, and he feels like the obvious receiving back there because Chris Rodriguez is not going to do shit. Good thing I already have Tyler Warren, I suppose. But Metcalf at 86, I guess. But honestly, let's trust Huhame's conviction. I'm going to pass on Metcalf, actually. We'll go Chris Godwin. And if I'm wrong on Igbuka, it's because Godwin fucking crushes. And there was a week last season where Godwin had like 100 yards. So we will go Chris Godwin over Metcalf at the falling price. Maybe just getting, the falling discount is just the move there. But honestly, Metcalf looked pretty bad last year. Pittman coming in, definitely not ideal. And Pittman goes right next to Metcalf. They go back-to-back in terms of the positional value. So that's pretty interesting. Metcalf at 87 in this lobby. Pittman at 89. And honestly, it's kind of about time. I feel like the Pittman-Metcalf prices should have been much closer all along. That feels like it checks out. But said Zeke was more important to the Cowboys than Dak in like 2018 at that point. Brett Coleman has some good takes. If you go back and nitpick on all my takes, there's a bunch of stinkers as well. No one bats 1,000, but why are people passing up on Josh Allen in the 3-4 turn? Because the market on quarterback is so much less expensive. You can still get Drake May in the 6th round, Jaden Daniels in the 6th round. Sometimes Lamar Jackson falls to the 6th round. It's because of the price on everyone else, not so much Allen. But I think once you hit pick 40, it's pretty legit. In the 3rd, though, it's always felt a little too expensive. But Huhames just focuses on hate, and it drives me. It can be a motivator. It can be. But interesting. Beck goes Jacoby Myers at 97. I haven't seen that in a while. If anything, Myers is falling to the 110s. Not going at the 8-9 turn. So, of all the teams to take him, pick 1 is where you get weird. So, it is what it is. Pittman was already off the board. So, I guess desperation kind of set in a little bit there. I was pretty hopeful to get Jacoby Myers, not going to lie. So that's kind of annoying. I do have Bishal Tootin at least, but it is what it is. There's still Hunter and Strange still available. Burgess swinging around his Giganto on the lobby. He took Chase Brown, Bowers, Igbuka, Adams, Quinshawn, Harrison, Herbert, Pearsall, and Bo Nix. Yeah, of course, the team that snipes me on Herbert unstacked is obviously Burgess once again. What's Spurs going to do here? Dobbins is at the top of ADP. Dobbins would make a lot of sense here unless you really just don't like Jackson Dart. But Dart is definitely who I want. Spurs goes Dobbins. Dart at 107 feels excellent. There's also some good back stacks. This is the side of the board where likely goes. So definitely some options. And quarterback, just getting guys that can run the ball. Last year, Trevor Lawrence had 9 rushing touchdowns. I think Jackson Dart had like 5 of them. Dart also had 9 rushing touchdowns. Holy shit. I thought it was half of that. We got 2 quarterbacks with 9 rushing touchdowns last year. That'd be awesome if it repeats. But this is a spot where receiver could definitely help me out a lot. Golden is already gone. Bannon falls, but I have Tyler Warren. I could go Rashad White, the bring back versus the Jags. Week 17 matchup. There will be catch-up mode. I could totally see a lot of checkdowns and desperation for Rashad White. I'll do it. Yeah. Let's do it. I have 3 Week 7 buys, but fuck it. Who cares? Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Bishal Tootin, and Rashad White let's take a look at the schedule. Let's see what week 7 matchups are going to help me out. But let me show you all the board before I do that and walk away. I got a little greedy, perhaps, at running back, but Rachaad White in the 10th feels like a steal. These days, I'm willing to pull up Rachaad much sooner than that. So I'll take him there with some conviction. The running back room feels excellent. So week 7, we got Thursday night, the Patriots at the Bears. Can't draft either of them. The Steelers at the Saints. Maybe this is a Kamara team. That's going to take place in Paris. The Paris game. You know what? I could see, of all games, Kamara show up for Paris. I could see that. Maybe I go Kamara on this one. But the Niners at the Falcons. Nah. Can't really get someone late. Cleveland at Tennessee. Maybe Dylan Sampson, but wouldn't bet on it. Maybe Tyjae Spears, though, could be relevant. The Colts at the Vikings. No one there. Dolphins at the Jets. Nah. I'll pass. Tampa, Carolina. I don't think so. Bengals at Ravens. Maybe Justice Hill. Bengals have a terrible run defense, so if I get really desperate, I could go Justice Hill. But Giants at the Texans. I'm not expecting Tyrone Tracy, but that could be the play. And then otherwise, there's maybe Zach Charbonnet, but I think that's too earlier in the year to be relevant. So not many options. I think the most compelling I mentioned in terms of matchups week 7 was probably going to be like Alvin Kamara. So yeah, Hames talked me into it. I have to start drafting Kamara a little bit more before it gets way too expensive. Before he's going right next to Keaton Mitchell, I should probably get some shares before it's too late. So Tracy comes off the board. The running back position is thin. We'll see what happens, but that's probably the plan. I'll announce it. I don't give a shit. I'll talk it out. And if y'all want to snipe me on Kamara, be my guest. But I think that's probably the plan. You know what's interesting? I do have Shuck on the thumbnail. I did pass on Tyson, though, so it would just be for the sake of the points and getting unique. Shuck is still here. Go Horns has Kyler and Stafford. Damn. I'm going to do it. I'll just take the discount. If T-Law was more stacked up, I might do it, but this will just be a 3-quarterback team. I have Tyler Warren, so stopping at 2 tight ends and having the luxury being a 3rd quarterback is not a bad plan. Isaiah likely does go, but if anything, I don't need tight end. Double tight end come off the board. Honestly, that probably saves me from myself making a big mistake. Question is here, do I go with the stack on Travis Hunter, or do I trust the ADP and go with like Shaheed or Jalen Coker? I'm going to go Shaheed. I think there's a world where his role really expands in the Seahawks offense. He also offers some special teams upside. A random touchdown never hurt you. So I'll go Shaheed just because I feel a little bit desperate at receiver. Not going to lie. Ladd, Garrett Wilson, Chris Godwin could be enough, but that's a position that I'm probably going to have to hammer the rest of the way. So thankfully, we have Tyler Warren. We're holding it down with a stud at tight end. The quarterback room, based off of value, looks really nice. Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck behind Trevor Lawrence. Pretty sweet. And then receiver might be a little thin, but attacking it with volume is always just one of the ways to go. I'm way behind on the chat. Let me try and catch up. Tutu is one that you will need week 17. Yeah, Tutu Atwell. Gotta be a good pick for the Dolphins. But sometimes you have to be an adult and just say out loud, the only Charger, Jag, Bear that not 15 picks too expensive, is Herbert, T-Lock, Caleb, and just live through secondary running backs, tight ends, and bring backs. Yo, that's a mature take right there, Sladen. That's very mature. An evolved mind has come to that conclusion. But I passed on Allen because I don't love stacking him with Cook, to be honest. That's fair. I think at some point, though, Allen is probably just worth it. And if you have, like, if you're really underweight on him, now that he's in the 4th, you should probably just try and catch up. But Sladen's in the overflow. I'm way behind. Holy shit. Oh, I guess not too behind, but Tutu probably has the best chance for spike weeks until a free agent signs. At this point, we're just trolling, right? But Sladen says, I was smart last year. All my late Cowboy money was on Miles Sanders, so I didn't have to sweat. Beck, not the worst auto. Did you auto Myers? Bummer. No, if you autoed, it would have been Xavier Worthy. I have no idea what you're talking about. If he's here, it would totally justify it. Juwan Johnson goes. Here's the thing. I told Gohorns what I was going to do. So just to prevent it, I'll go Kamara. Because I don't trust Bigsby to contribute early enough to fill in week 7. And like I said, Alvin Kamara in Paris, week 7, he will be the piece I need to cover this triple bye week with Hampton, Tootin, and Rachaad White. I always said I was going to do it. I pull up Kamara. And then you go Bigsby, so that's totally fine. My rank says Trey Harris. ADP says Juwan Jennings. Gross all the way around. I think I'll just go Denzel Boston. Or not. We'll go Debo. If there's one guy that will move up, it's Debo. Nobody else has a chance to move up the board. I'll just go Debo. 158, Debo Samuel. That's fine. Maybe he goes to the Giants, hypothetically. But at this point, it's just kind of like, maybe this. Maybe every single possible scenario is still up in play. But Debo will rise, no doubt, once he signs. But yeah, at this point, we can absolutely just pencil that in. It's pretty much locked. Locked and loaded. Burgess will snipe me at QB. But I think we pieced it together. Honestly, it would be way better to have Herbert stacked with Ladd and Hampton. But like the team has T-Law, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shuck. I'll be okay. It's really not a problem. But PD says, one of Judkins, Godwin, or Scatterbo is going to mega bust this season. I got a feeling. If I had to guess which one, it would be Judkins. Give me the Brown not to pay off. But Judkins will be like decent. I just don't think he scores enough touchdowns to really pay off enough. But Beck is a Myers guy. No worries, man. All good. Pats never should have let him go. Professional receiver. Yeah, that's very accurate. Very professional player. 100%. Huhaim says, I took Kamara at 145 earlier on full PPR. Maybe I'm the problem. I mean, here's the thing, Huhaims. If he's going to go that high, it's because maybe someone like you is steaming up the price. But here's the thing. I definitely was taking him in the 150s here. And you did sell me on it where, like, I should probably have it. And I got Tyler Shuck, so it's even more justified. Maybe he is the missing piece at receiver. And also, of all the weeks where I think he could deliver, the Paris game, I think, makes some sense. A veteran like him showing up in another country, you know, especially assuming he retires after this year, like, I could totally see him push it in that game. They have the bye right after, so it would make a lot of sense where He is actually like the best fill-in option week 7 based on matchups and stuff like that. But I'm not taking Mendoza, that's for sure. I need my tight end 2 at some point, so I could go with AJ Barner here, a little past ADP. I do like him. He goes to Spurs. It's a good pick. No issue with that at all. I need receivers, and at this point, they're all kind of gross, but I have been talking myself into Ridley a little bit lately. Branch is also kind of interesting, but I'll go with Ridley because they're all really disgusting at this point. And honestly, I could just push tight end again if I really wanted to. Tiefer goes and Branch, so do I want any of these guys? Not really. Not really. I think instead we'll just stay at receiver. And I'll go Tank Dell today. Actually, no. I'll go Mooney. I'll just take Mooney. Dell will probably have some value this season. If he does stay healthy, he could actually really pay off this ADP. But I have Jackson Dart unstacked, so just taking a giant, definitely probably the wiser choice. And this late in the ADP, who the fuck cares? I have 2 clicks left. I'll grab a random tight end. Just trusting Tyler Warren, I think, is totally fine. It is what it is. So maybe I should have taken Isaiah Likely instead of Tyler Shuck. Possibly that would have been more helpful, but Tyler Warren is definitely one of the guys I really feel confident in. It's all fine. But who Hames? I got Kamara at 173 in PPR in my last one. McNick says, I just put Jalen Tolbert, Tutu Atwell, and Theo Wees in my queue. Time to print money. Yeah, you're 100%. That's the combo that we all need. I just don't care. I want Kamara. Kamara is your Keaton Mitchell, who Hames. That's what it is. You found your Keaton Mitchell, and it's Alvin Kamara. And you're going to chase him up the board until he's in the 130s. That's what I think it is. You hate Keaton Mitchell so much, and you found your diamond in the rough. That's what it is. But Myers could be an excellent pick. Myers is possibly the most valuable Jaguar receiver. It's possible. Especially if Parker Washington is trash, especially if BTJ is just getting the yips again and not doing jack shit. Maybe the chemistry is just that bad. And then obviously Travis Hunter might just play corner all season. But there's also a world where Myers gets traded. What if he's the Dolphins receiver 1? What if they love Parker Washington and Travis Hunter enough, and BTJ is just so good that they're like, you know what? We're sorry, Jacoby, but we don't need you. We're going to let you go. But I do not have interest in Tolbert, Austin. I do not. I wish you passed on Shuck so I could get him at the turn. Yeah, the value is just too interesting, and if I had some other stacks, I might not have done it, but I didn't really have stack. Yo, Freiermuth is still here? Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. I rank him at 175, and honestly, I think that might be a little low, so I'll take Freiermuth for sure. Fuck yeah. Freiermuth at 203. We're making Meg proud. One of the best values on the board already. Falls another 11 spots, so fuck yeah. Freiermuth here. Insta-click. The only question remaining is there's no stack with T-Law. He's just on the roster. Dart, we could go like Malachi Fields. I already have Mooney, though. And then Shuck, I could go like Bryce Lance if I really wanted to. That's possibly a choice. But I do think I will take receiver. I could go Taekwon for the bring back. I could get a random share of Keon or Keenan or Christian Kirk. I could go Fields. I'll go Torrey Horton, though. I want some touchdown upside, and if Shaheed doesn't hit my lineup one week, it's probably because Torrey Horton can play well in that spot. So, playing the Seahawks passing game, getting more valuable, and just grabbing you know, both touchdown guys, both spike week guys. Like, Cup is not dropping more than 10 points. Last year, he didn't do it really ever. So, Horton had 4 touchdowns in like 6 games. Shaheed, I think, will have a bigger role. But if he doesn't, it's because Torrey Horton actually plays pretty well in his sophomore season. So, that pick could have gone in any direction, but ultimately I've always been a fan of Torrey Horton, and he's just kind of one of my guys that I really like, and I'm willing to trust. But this team is interesting. This team is fun. The quarterback room obviously doesn't have Lawrence stacked up at all, but we get him in week 8 to fill in for Dart and Tyler Shuck. Let's see what that matchup is real quick. In week 7, I have Shuck hosting the Steelers in Paris, or the Giants at Houston. So Dart is not going to play well week 7. I am really trusting Tyler Shuck in the Paris game. Him and Alvin Kamara are going to have that connection I need. But in week 8, when they're both on bye, what am I looking at? Trevor Lawrence comes off the bye, and he is playing the Colts at home. The Jaguars always beat the Colts at home. That's going to be a great game. T-Law, going to play very well as my only option, week 8. But the running back room, my favorite start of them all, the Genty Hampton start, that is perfect. And then Baishal Tootin, Rashad White, those players are very good. But the risk factor of all 4 of them being on bye week 7 could have been an issue. So I only have 3. It's not great, but I think we like the matchup for Kamara in Paris against the Steelers week 7, excuse me, where it's going to be all right. And then who does Genty play in week 7? I'm just, at this point, I really want to know the matchups. What are my chances with Genty hosting the Rams? That's bad. That couldn't be worse, actually. Genty week 7 is going to shit the bed. I'll tell you that right now. The Rams are already a top 3 rushing defense, a terrible matchup last season. They add Myles Garrett. That is not good. That's going to be gross. But had I taken James Cook instead of Ashton Genty, I would have had all 4 of my top starters with a week 7 bye. And that would have been very, very annoying. At least I get something out of Genty. It's better than a bagel, but it's not going to be good against the Rams. But I got Ladd McConkey on this team, Garrett Wilson, who feels like just a very, very safe pick. And it's the Jets. It's gross, but like, fuck it. He's really, really good. He's so talented. Chris Godwin, though, should break out, or at least bounce back. Yeah, he's going to bounce back, hopefully. Rashid Shaheed and Torrey Horton, one of these Seahawks receivers, should pay off. And then Debo will be more valuable than pick 158. In theory, he's moving up the board once he signs with really any team. He'll be more valuable. But Ridley might get traded if he stays in Tennessee. Might have some looks in the early part of the year, but if anything, I really think Ridley probably gets traded. Darnell Mooney stacks up with Jackson Dart. And then, like we said, Torrey Horton fills in if Shaheed doesn't hit the lineup. But Tyler Warren carries this tight end room, very dependent on him. And I did get a really nice value on Freiermuth, which saves me. But honestly, it could have been really, really thin without Freiermuth here. Freiermuth might save the team. Might save the team. But that Tyler Warren pick definitely coming in clutch, being able to avoid the position. I drafted 8 receivers. We got the luxury pick of Tyler Shuck, and it is more stacked than Trevor is. So, interesting team. I wish the quarterback room was more correlated. That would have been nice. It would have been very nice to get Justin Herbert on this one, but not today. McNix, I think I need to see what Malik Willis's best ball teams look like before I draft Jalen Tolbert. It's not worth betting on Jalen Tolbert, let's be honest. But I got Torrey on my Dynasty team. He's a baller. Yeah, Dynasty-wise, he's going to be excellent. Dean, I think my Lamar and Burrow team would look better if I had gotten Pollard. Yeah, if you can get Burrow in the 7th and take Pollard in the 6th, or just Pollard and just a later quarterback, it's not bad either. But Anthony, apologies if my draft pisses anyone off, then tend to do that from time to time. Yeah, Anthony has made some people upset. Definitely happened before. But okay, we have Burgess, who is a member of the Blunt Rotation. He gets a team review as this evening. Danimal as well, and Gohorns. Those are the 3. If anybody else wants one, let me know. But I might just stop with those 3 because it's past 11. I think this is it for the live stream. But if anything, let's take a rip first. Let's take a hit from the pipe before we call it quits. Let's do it. Kenny the Jet, you got it, brother. You got it. But that is a fair point, A-Rod. It's your money. Do what you will. But, yeah, you are a member. I just, sometimes I forget, Ken. Appreciate you reminding me with the comment. All right, so we'll also take a look at Kenny the Jet. Haven't looked at you today. We have looked at the other 3 teams. So, if anything, you jumped the queue, my friend. Allen and Cam Ward, that's fine. Inexpensive on Cam Ward with some breakout potential, especially if you have, like, Carnell Tate. It's even better. But you have Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane, Tony Pollard. Pollard at 66. I don't mind that at all. I think that's really where he should go. He is the best running back on the board once you hit Jadarian Price. But Isaiah Pacheco, Ray Davis, and Mike Washington. So some high upside handcuffs. Maybe Washington has more of a role than expected. But Pacheco is just playing for Detroit right now. And until they sign anyone else, he is a good pick. At least until James Conner joins the team. That is true. But Ray Davis, elite upside if James Cook goes down. So betting a lot on McCaffrey and Achane and Pollard, and that's always fine. No issue with that. Receiver has Olave, DJ Moore, and Cortland Sutton. Jaden Reed and Xavier Worthy. Pretty solid top 5. Worthy scares me. I will also acknowledge Jaden Reed, I think, deserves to fall. I have actually talked myself out of Jaden Reed in the 80s. That's why I take a lot of Matthew Golden. I think the gap between Jaden Reed and Golden should actually be closer. But Sutton, you took a little bit above ADP. You did not take him with Bo Nix, though. That's the main reason I can think of to do it. So maybe you got sniped. But Fannin at 114, that's a nice price, nice discount on Fannin. Ferguson and Schultz, a lot of volume for them. So really, really valuable tight end room. A shit ton of points coming from those 3 players. But receiver, the flex contributions might be a little bit thin. DJ Moore and Sutton in the starting lineup is a little scary. Not going to lie. The receiver room, I do not envy. And Olave, you had the chance to take Tyler Shuck. You just didn't want him, I guess. Who'd you take instead of Tyler Shuck? Jake Ferguson? I think you should have taken Shuck instead of Cam Ward because you have Cam Ward unstacked. This team would look a little bit better with Tyler Shuck instead of Jake Ferguson, if you ask me. That's what I would have done differently. I was pretty shocked to see Tyler Shuck still available at 131. So that's what I would have done differently myself. I see a big difference in Tyler Shuck and Cam Ward, but Malik Willis also kept falling, so maybe you would have gotten rewarded with Malik on top of it. Who knows? But that's where I would have gone differently, my friend. Respectfully, I would have gone with Shuck. It also opens you up to Juwan Johnson instead. And I don't see that much difference, honestly, between Jake Ferguson and Juwan Johnson. Like, yes, Ferguson is more valuable, but he's a little dependent on injury last year to really pop off for his true ceiling. When Lamb was out, those games were so much better than when Lamb was playing and active. So Ferguson, I think, is a little bit overrated myself. I don't take him that often. I'd rather go Goddard, and if I don't have Dak, I usually don't force it on Ferguson unless it's a big faller. So that's my take. Maybe I'm wrong, but I respect the decision there. He could be great, especially if you told me an injury happened, but I like Shuck on this team a little bit more. I'll move on, though. We mentioned Gohorns as well, gets a team review. He's a member. We got Kyler Murray, Stafford, and Bryce Young. I think double tapping quarterback at that 9-10 turn when you don't have one yet, I think is the right move. There is no way you get a league winner to make it back. I didn't let Shuck fall at 132. So I think this was the correct choice at cost. Is it stacked up with Jefferson and Addison? So love that. You also took T-Ferg super late. So great strategy there at quarterback. Love that. And then Bryce just at cost with Tet McMillan, always solid. No issue. He's not the most exciting, but he's QB3 on a, perfectly legit type of roster. With Tet, that's definitely the play. But James Cook, Travis, RJ Harvey, and Tank Bigsby, Jaden Blue. So you totally would have grabbed Shuck, if I guess, to pair with Travis. Running back room, maybe a little risky with Harvey. The hype on Travis has been definitely not that compelling lately. So maybe it's risky, but overall, I think it's fine. I love Bigsby, and then Blue is all right. At 204, it's totally fine. But Jefferson, Tet, Rome, and BTJ with Addison, that top 5 is fantastic. Branch and Surratt, the bet on rookies in good situations. They could just be the number 2 on the respective offense. So very legit receiver room. No complaints with that at all. The double tap of Likely and Goddard at the, 11-12 turn. Really valuable. And then the Terrence Ferguson stack. Very, very good value decision. Love the tight end room. I think, honestly, you played like position decisions fucking perfectly. Like, legitimately, I don't think there was like a positional choice I would have made differently and made this team better. Like, say what you will about Harvey, but grabbing running back there really, really helps. Maybe a quarterback there unstacked. Like, had I left you T-Law, that would have been the pick 100%. But the only choice that was a little bit odd was maybe passing on Rashad, but structurally it made the perfect sense. Really, really wise choices all throughout this Gohorns. Like, literally, I think you know what you're doing on all these picks. And Harvey at 84 when Dowdle's off the board, I have no issue with that. So excellent team, brother. Phenomenal team. Yeah. The quarterback room could have been better. Oh, did you get sniped at quarterback in a blunt stream? Shocker. Here's the thing. I snipe enough people for me to accept the penalty. That's just the nature of the game sometimes. But yeah. I did have Tootin. I do have Shuck with Tootin. I forgot about Shuck. T-Law is not unstacked. T-Law is not unstacked. He has his Bishal Tootin to catch the ball. That's funny. All right. Let's move on, though. We got Danimal also gets a team review. We'll go with Danimal. Always interesting builds. Goff, Stroud, and Tua. Tua is so cheap, he's worth clicking, especially if you have London or Bijan or I guess even Kyle Pitts. Those three, I will take Tua if I need him. And Stroud being QB2, the price market could have just been really weird. For the price, Tua makes, he does contribute, help out this team a little bit. The early buys from Goff and Stroud, he's definitely the starter most likely in week 6 and 8. So definitely the play. You did have Kyle Pitts, so it is worth it. Scatabo, RB1, feels like a savior right now. In the 4th, get it while you can. I wish I took more of him in the 5th. But Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard, Keaton Mitchell, and Zach Charbonnet. Don't love the Chuba or Bucky Irving pick or the Keaton Mitchell pick. But if you're right, you're right. and they all have some top 20 upside. They could all actually just be the guys you need. But if Keaton Mitchell hits, if Chuba Hubbard hits, if Bucky hits, I am losing a lot of money. So I'm rooting against this team, but you do have Charbonnet as RB5, and as long as he's the 5th, I don't hate it. I can understand the vision. It's fair. Scatterbo at 41, definitely the anchor, and then these guys might just be better than I give them credit for. But all falling values, all decent in that regard. But Amon-Ra and AJ Brown, that's elite. With T. Higgins, that's a super mega combo. Top 3 are fantastic. P-Wash, Michael Pittman, Stephon Diggs, and Jerry Jeudy. Great room of 7. No complaints other than maybe I'm not as high on Parker Washington as others. But tight end with Pitts, paired up with Tua, Gunnar Helm, and David Njoku. So high upside, super late pick on Njoku. And then Helm should deliver, but maybe Daniel Bellinger is actually a little bit more involved than people expect. Perhaps him following Dable is a problem, but odds are he's still a good pick. 5 picks past ADP is all right on Helm. You get the bring back with Pittman as well. Very solid team. Running back is just not like player take the way I want to go. So like that's really it. And then quarterback you could argue is a little bit thin. 10 pick slide though on Stroud is valuable. He's unstacked, so it's just for the sake of points. You're betting on the Goff stack and Tua combo. It's really just the Goff and Amon-Ra pairing that needs to hit. But interesting team. Good luck at running back, Danimal. Good luck. But the Burgess is also in here. If I forgot you and you are a member, let us know. But I believe that's everyone. This is probably the last team review of the night. Herbert and Bo Nix. The snipe on Herbert, it is the correct pick. Like, I can't be mad at it. I really can't. It is where he should go. Definitely where he should go. But unstacked, always a little bit less valuable than stacked up. It's much more difficult to stack Herbert these days. That's why I haven't been taking him as much, and my exposure to him has been moving down as of late. I would love to take him every chance I get, but it's just been less common, and when it's unstacked, it feels a little bit less desirable. But Herbert and Bo Nix, an elite quarterback room, that's great. You took Chase Brown at pick 5. That's pretty crazy. But Quinshawn and Tyler Algier, Sean Tucker and Marshawn Lloyd, a wild running back room. If Algier is the piece you need, that will be interesting. Egbuka, Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison, Ricky Pearsall. So far, the receiver room is looking pretty good. Some people aren't as high on Egbuka. I'm not as high on Marvin, but I love Ricky Pearsall. Think he should be moving up dramatically, to be honest. Casey Concepcion should be valuable, but in the Browns offense, a little gross, of course. Hunter, high spike week chances. I was hopeful to get him with T-Law. The snipe, though, wasn't a snipe because I passed on him. He had to fall a long ways down for me to get him. So no issue with that. He has the upside. He's worth it. Your boy, Jalen Tolbert at 197. So a little bit less crazy than 165. And then Keenan Allen, 212, a worthwhile pick, as always. But Bowers, Kelsey, and Gadsden. So 3 tight ends, not afraid of the build. And with only 2 quarterbacks, you can definitely justify it. I don't mind it. Honestly, I think it's pretty interesting. High spike weeks on Gadsden. And Kelsey is, interesting too. But Bowers, always fun. And I think having 3 tight ends with Bowers is actually pretty solid. So, good team. Actually like the team quite a bit. But running back is just like kind of unjustifiable. If it hits though, like if you get away with Chase Brown and Quinshon Judkins, good luck. But yeah, maybe Lloyd actually works. The running back room is where I think I might have to retract good team. But receiver and tight end feel excellent. Quarterback feels awesome. It's just all dependent on Chase Brown and Quinshon. So If you're right, you'll be laughing to the bank. You probably overspent on Chase Brown, though. Like, if this is Taylor and Judkins, the team's so much better. The team's way, way better with Jonathan Taylor. So, it's pick 5. That was the big oddity. But you got different, at least. Chase Brown and Bowers. I've seen you draft that a few times. Doing it from the 5 feels fucking crazy, though. All right, I think that's going to be it. We will see you guys tomorrow. I will be live after I'm live with Best Ball Guy, but I'll be live on his channel at 6:15 Pacific, so 9:15 Eastern. It'll be after the Toxic Tower, and first time live with Best Ball Guy. Really looking forward to it, and should be a fun time. We will go live afterwards as well. So excited for that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. But that's it for me. Peace out. Good night.